Chapter 349. Wasted money. Ms. Fong sighed emotionally. Why didn't he make it? I thought he would. He has been devoted to studies for so long and has spent so much money. What more can he do after he has failed so many times? Ms. Fong did not like them, but she never wished anything bad for them. On the contrary, she wished that they could live a happy life so that her family could be left alone. Xiao Xian smiled. Mom, my husband is the only cultivated talent in the whole village, so I am sure that it is never easy to become one. If that was an easy task, the title would not be so valuable anymore. As for what Xiao Liulang would do if he kept failing, Xiao Xian did not dwell on it. It had nothing to do with her. Ms. Fong smiled as she heard her daughter-in-law. True. But soon she felt concerned. But so much money was spent on him. It is very costly to cultivate a student. They were just talking when Ms. Niu, Ms. Ma and third uncle rushed into the house. Eldest sister-in-law. Ms. Ma looked as if she had seen a savior and the light at the end of a tunnel. She rushed towards Ms. Fong and took hold of her hand tightly. Eldest sister-in-law, you have to help us right now. I will do anything for you if you help us. Oh. Ms. Fong was quite shocked and pulled her hand out. Third sister-in-law, what is going on? Eldest sister-in-law. Third uncle sighed as they walked in and took a seat. My son has been working very hard on his studies, right? You have witnessed. Yes, our son has always been devoted to his studies and the teachers at the college speak well of him. As they were talking, eldest uncle, Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian as well as the other members of the first section of the family gathered together as well. Everyone was very curious as to what was going on. After all, Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma never liked Ms. Fong. So, what made Ms. Ma promise to do anything for them? Something big must be going on. Third uncle said, but Liulang failed at the examination. How could that be possible? Ms. Ma nodded constantly. Yes, even your son made it, and our son should have made it too. I mean, our son is smart, devoted and he couldn't have failed like this. Ms. Fong felt quite uncomfortable hearing that she was speaking ill of her son. She sneered inwardly, knowing that the couple must be up to no good. Doing anything for her? That was impossible. They would never change what their character was from within. You are here to tell me this? Well, I don't know anything about it. What is the point of telling me about it? Eldest uncle added. Yeah, third brother and sister-in-law, Liulang is still young and he will definitely make it in the future. Don't stress him too much. Third uncle and Ms. Ma did not like what they heard. Yeah, your son had made it so you could say whatever you wanted. If your son had failed, you would not have said something like this. Third uncle said, Elder brother, elder sister-in-law, we don't believe that Liulang really failed. We suspect that his paper has been wrongly judged. Hence, could the fifth niece-in-law just tell her father Officer Xiao to check the paper for us? We are a family, and if Liulang makes it and has a promising future, we will pay back this favor to Officer Xiao. Chapter 350. Talk with senior people. Third uncle was worried that what had been said was not straightforward enough, so he clarified again. Of course we won't let Officer Xiao do that for free. We will prepare enough presents to thank him. He almost said that he wanted Officer Xiao to cheat by helping add Xiao Liulang's name to the list. Ms. Fong and eldest uncle had not expected that third uncle and Ms. Ma would have thought about such a method. They, for a moment, had no idea what the family was talking about. Xiao Yunduan's facial expressions changed and he said coldly, Are you crazy, third uncle and third aunt? Eldest uncle immediately reacted. Yunduan, what are you talking about? They were already in a bad mood since their son failed the examination and he was just adding fuel to the oil. Xiao Yunduan said coldly, Dad, have you understood what they mean? They are trying to make Officer Xiao cheat by adding Liulang's name on the list. That is crazy. If it is revealed, Liulang will never be able to attend any examination in the future, and Officer Xiao will lose his job, and he may be imprisoned too. You think this is a minor thing? Ms. Fong shouted furiously. You are just mental. How can you even think about this? Ms. Ma was shocked but still replied. You don't need to frighten us. It is not that serious. I just think that the paper is erroneously judged. It is a situation where a wrong needs to be made right. Xiao Yunduan responded in a clear voice. If you really think that the paper is wrongly marked, you can send the paper to the government office and ask the authority there to do a re-examination. Officer Xiao can't make this decision. If you don't believe me, you can ask your son yourselves. Going to the government office? That was not possible. They would not be okay heading to a strange city in the province. Also, Ms. Ma did not think that it would work out favorably for them. That was not a place for people like them to be at. Hence, she still insisted. It means that they can recheck the paper, right? That is reasonable. Isn't it? As long as Officer Xiao was willing to offer the help, they could find any kind of excuse to do so. No one would dare counter that. Also, Ms. Ma was confident that her son must have been wrongly judged on the paper. Third uncle was also somehow confident. Yes, as long as Officer Xiao can extend a hand, we can definitely make it. Eldest brother, eldest sister-in-law, please, this is about Shao Liulang's future. We are begging you. Shao Yunduan did not have any idea what more to say, but sneered. You think it is very easy to recheck the paper? If it was an easy thing, every participant would do so, and the whole situation would get messy. I told you, the officer and scholar should join forces to recheck the paper. Maybe, some learned people would come forward and take a look at it as well. If there is any problem with it, then it would be Officer Qiao's fault not to have recruited the right talents and get seriously punished. If the result is the same, your son will be hit and forbidden to participate in the examination again in the future. Who told you that Officer Qiao has the right to make that call? If you don't believe me, you can go to the office and ask about it. Qiao Xin smiled. He is right. It is a huge thing if a mistake on the paper is done, and any wrong result can cause someone's death. You must be mental to have suspected the fairness of the recruitment. Ms. Ma was not convinced. You are just frightening us. Then you can go and visit the province yourself. Qiao Xin sneered. You have nothing to lose, right? Chapter 351. Not waking up. You can't just go to the county, you have to go to the province. Oh, if you don't believe me, you can go to the county office first and see if you return after some punishment. Eldest uncle frowned at Qiao Xian. He was very displeased by what Qiao Xian said. She sounded quite impolite. He moved his lips but said nothing eventually. Miss Fong was really furious by this point. She got up and started to drive them away. Just leave us alone. One more word and you will get out of the family. If you want to get yourself killed, do so. Don't drag us down. Shao Yunduan said, what about first asking your son what he wants? Qiao Xian could not help but add. You keep saying that your son is smart and devoted, good at studies, but did the teacher tell you all of these things personally? How could they be so confident that Shao Liulang failed because his paper had been wrongly judged? Third uncle was startled and almost jumped after what he heard. What do you mean? I mean what I said. Qiao Xian pursed her lips. I won't believe what I don't see or hear myself. Shao Yunduan almost burst into laughter but tugged at Qiao Xian. All right, let's just drop it. He knew pretty well whether the teacher spoke highly of Shao Liulang, and whether Shao Liulang was smart and devoted, as he claimed. But he was not going to tell the truth to the public since his cousin wanted to brag about his non-existent skills. After all, he would not be able to offer any evidence to the family. They might even call him jealous. But Qiao Xian was so straightforward that she said it out loud. Third uncle snapped. Don't you dare slander our son just because you are jealous of him. Qiao Xian rolled her eyes and countered. My husband is already a cultivated talent, and he is going to the next level next year. What am I jealous of? Jealous of you who will never make it to a cultivated talent? You! Elder uncle's heart almost skipped a beat. Just drop it, Miss Qiao. His brother and sister-in-law were already having a bad time and Miss Qiao kept poking their wounds. They were going to end up having a fight. Qiao Xian was not afraid of eldest uncle. Instead, she said, Dad, I am just reminding third uncle and third aunt out of kindness. They can believe me if they want to. I didn't want to tell them this much, nor did I have the intention of arguing with them because there is no point in arguing about this. I am not that bored after all, to go to Minghua College and ask about this. Eldest uncle. Miss Qiao's words could always annoy him. Miss Fong laughed and nodded and said, Miss Qiao is totally right. She was not mocking them, but the third section of the family had been way over the top in their conduct and she just could not help it. Ms. Ma snapped. Why ask the teachers at college? Yunduan is here. Yunduan, Just tell us if the teachers speak highly of your cousin and call him devoted and learned or not. Xiao Yunduan. He really did not want to tell lies. I only focus on my own studies. I am not sure if the teachers have spoken highly of my cousin. If you want to know about it, just ask him yourself. Chapter 352. Xiao Lilang's uncertainty. What do you mean? Third uncle asked him with force. He panicked for some reason. He subconsciously felt that what Xiao Xian said was right, but he just could not accept it. Feeling confused, third uncle glared at Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, sneering. You can just put it straightforwardly that you don't want to help us. Why do you still accuse my son? You are just jealous, and you just don't want him to become good. Just wait and see. Proverb says that rain takes turns in pouring down. You can be as proud as you want, but my son will become far more excellent than you. Ms. Ma snorted. True. Let's see whose turn it is to beg in the future. Ms. Fong felt so annoyed when hearing their impolite words to her son. She snapped. Then let's see what happens. No matter what happens to my son, I will never turn to you for help. Anyways, we have never turned to you for any help ever. Third uncle got so annoyed that he ignored Ms. Fong and shouted at Ms. Ma. Let's just go. Ms. Niu chuckled as she watched the whole show. Then she left with the couple of the third section of the family. Ms. Fong glared at eldest uncle. Look at your brother's family. What kind of people are they? Yunduan is better than Liulang. So what? They can speak highly of their son if they want to. But why must they talk down to our Yunduan? I do hope that everyone can live a good life, but they don't wish so. They hope that we will have a hard life so we can turn to them for help. But honestly, if that day really comes, do you think that they will help you? Having said that, Ms. Fong left angrily without waiting for eldest uncles. Xiao Yunduan left along with Xiao Xian. The others all dispersed into different directions as well. Eldest uncle felt his heart breaking down. He had done nothing wrong, but why did he feel that everyone else believed that he had done something wrong? What had he done wrong? He was just feeling sorry for his third brother and third sister-in-law. He was their family and he should feel sympathetic towards them, right? It was not good to laugh at them or counter them, no? When it came to the third section of the family, Ms. Ma got so annoyed that she cursed Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. The couple knocked at Xiao Lilang's door and asked him about what happened. Both of them talked one by one and they exaggerated certain things to make the story sound reasonable. After a long while, Xiao Liulang finally understood what they were talking about. He could not help but feel moved. Yes, he was very confident about his abilities, but why did he fail again? Maybe the paper was wrongly judged after all? If the paper could be rechecked, he might make it to the next level? Seeing the expression on his face, Ms. Ma got excited and snapped. Ms. Xiao and my nephew are just liars. They keep frightening us and saying that we can't do this unless we want trouble coming to us. They just don't allow us to flourish. Xiao Liulang brought himself back and his face changed. Just forget about it, the results can't be changed once they are out. Third uncle and Ms. Ma found what he said even more motivating. They could not forget about it but got increasingly driven. Forced, Xiao Liulang had to spill the truth. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were totally right. Just forget about it. It isn't a good deal. Officers are not that easy to speak to. What if they pick on us? We are just civilians, unable to counter them. Chapter 353. Mountain in Autumn. Third uncle and Ms. Ma both fell silent. They were quite taken aback. Ms. Ma burst into tears. Then what can we do? Poor Liulang, your paper has been wrongly judged. How terrible it is. Xiao Liulang also looked as if that was true. Third uncle hesitated for a moment and asked discreetly, rubbing his hands. Liulang, just tell me the truth. How are you doing in college? What knowledge have you obtained? Do teachers speak highly of you often? Xiao Liulang felt quite confused, wondering what his father was talking about that he asked these questions all of a sudden. Ms. Ma could not hold a secret but said angrily, Xiao Yunduan and Ms. Xiao say that you are just bragging about being spoken highly of by the teachers. The teachers couldn't have ignored you but turned to him instead, right? Xiao Lilang's face changed as he said coldly, just ignore what they told you. They just wish that we are worse than them. What good things can come out of their mouths? That is true. All right, I need a break. just leave me alone. But, just leave me alone. Xiao Liulang pushed his parents out of the room and shut the door. He let out a breath, feeling his cheeks heat up. He managed to lie to his parents, but felt quite uncertain inwardly. Why was Xiao Yunduan saying this about him? He was plain lucky to have reached where he was, and he was not in a position to accuse him of anything. Xiao Liulang clenched his teeth angrily. After grains went into the granary, and the last batch of lipsticks of the year were ready, the weather became much cooler. The leaves on the mountain were also gradually changing color and falling. The color-changing trees were mixed in the evergreen green mountains and forests, which was very beautiful. Qiao Xian did a count. They had 1,536 lipsticks in total with 4 different colors by now. She decided to produce 1 batch of lip balms. It was much easier to make lip balms, but the remaining beeswax was only enough for around 1,000 pieces, according to her experience. They could not get any more beeswax in autumn because soon winter was coming and the bees were all busy preparing for the winter. They had to wait for the spring next year to make more lipsticks. For Qiao Xian and those who were good at it, lip balms were much easier to make compared to lipsticks, more handy. The 4 of them made 150 pieces within 1 day. After 3 days, they slowed down the pace. Many things started to ripen in the mountains when autumn came, and Qiao Xian was eager to pay a visit there. The grapes in her garden were also ripe. According to Shao Xiaoqi and Tao Tao, they were bigger than the original wild grapes growing on the mountain, and they were also sweeter and far more delicious. In fact, the wild grapes in the mountains were relatively small, but the ones in her garden were all big bunches. Qiao Xian was glad that her superpower helped her with all such things. Everyone didn't think it was too strange. They just assumed that the grapes grew well because they often took good care of them and fertilized them, so that they could grow better than the wild ones. In addition to the wild grapes, the dates, pomegranates, and lemons in the garden were also ripe. The persimmons were still a little bit sour, but they would soon ripen. This season was the time when the wild grapes were present the most in the mountains. Qiao Xian wanted to get some more. She was going to wash them, drain them, and mash them into large porcelain jars, to let them ferment naturally to make some wine. It was a pity that the mountain grapes were not big enough, but the core was not small. Otherwise they could have tried to convert them into raisins. There were many mushrooms, which also grew in autumn. Those were picked to be dried, and they should be delicious when eaten. Chapter 354. Into mountains again. Qiao Xian had been thinking about the creeping figs and expected that they would be ripe by this point. Each fruit was slightly larger than an egg. They could pick it and bring out a pack of finely crushed seeds from inside, and dry it in the sun. When they wanted to eat the jelly, they could wash it with water and let it condense. They could break the transparent jelly in a bowl, add some sugar water, a little mint juice, and some other nuts. That was the taste she had been thinking about for a long time. When the work in the farm wasn't that heavy, Xiao Dalong and Ms. Su and others waited for Qiao Xian to go into the mountain together. Xiao Yunduan also wanted to take a break from his studies, so he offered to tag along. Qiao Xian got quite motivated being in the environment where she was surrounded by plants. Since it was autumn when the liveliness wasn't that strong, she was slightly slower in using her superpower. Qiao Xian decided to find some wild grapes in the first 2 days as well as other things. But birds in the woods love to eat wild grapes, so they needed to hurry up before the birds pecked the plants. Wine made with grapes could be brewed easily, so they had 3 large jars that could hold at least 100 kilograms of wild grapes. Therefore, they only needed to get around 100 kilograms of wild grapes. They were going to remove the veins and the rotten and bad fruits. Wild grapes were plants with veins, and they kept climbing up to the top of the trees so as to get plenty of sunlight. Therefore, it was not an easy job to get the grapes. There were mountain grapes also present in low and wide places, but often the mountain grapes in low places did not grow well, and the output was very low. Shao Xiaoqi was quite familiar with the woods, and he was quite happy and energetic. There were all kinds of wild fruits in the mountains, especially in the sparsely populated and densely forested mountains. Soon, Shao Xiaoqi saw the wild grapes hanging on the top of the pine trees, as he said with a smile, "Look, the grapes are there." "Yes, there are grapes. They look delicious." "I agree." Shao Sanlang and his wife said the last 2 words. The tree was not too tall and twigs were very thick, so Shao Zayaka climbed up very easily while the others were just looking up at him. Soon Shao Xiaoqi came down and had half of the basket filled with the fruits. The fresh fruits were so beautiful and they all started to try some. They were lucky, as there were no birds visiting this grape tree, and the clusters were quite complete. Each bunch was about the size of 3 fingers and as long as a palm, and they were tangled tightly together. Each cluster was small but quite pretty. They were sharing the fruits, sweet and sour, amidst the unique freshness of the woods. Very delicious. We can take so many of them back each year. Xiao loved the taste too, a bit sour and sweet, suitable for winemaking. They were eating the grapes while they walked forward. Xiao used her superpower and picked the place where wild grapes were abundant. Soon, they ran into a patch of land where wild grapes were growing best. There are so many of them. Yes, so many. Chapter 355. Harvest. It seems that there are many wild grapes in the mountains this year. Otherwise, how could they easily find one patch of land full of it? They all nodded in agreement. Their arrival had startled the animals who were eating the grapes. Soon some birds took off. The trees were relatively high here, and some twigs were quite fragile. So they needed to be careful not to break them. They were all aware of this. As they were talking, they all went up onto different trees. Only Shao Yunduan and Xiao remained on the ground. They exchanged a look and laughed. Xiao said with a smile, "We are just waiting for the food to come to us." Shao Yunduan smiled. "That is our ability too." Xiao laughed. Her husband had learned to speak tricky words. But the couple were not idle. Xiao just glanced about with her superpower. This plain-looking forest was actually a huge feast for the eyes of Xiao. There were treasures everywhere. She could see roosters, rabbits, muntjac, and all kinds of wild birds. But she could not do anything about it. Still, she couldn't help wanting to pick all kinds of mushrooms in the forest. There were many kinds of straw mushrooms, pine mushrooms, side ears, large mushrooms, enoki mushrooms, and shiitake mushrooms. Although the quantity of each type was not large, the two of them still found quite a lot of them. By this point, they had not yet walked too far away. 1 hour later, those on the trees came down. Their baskets were filled with stuff, and they poured the grapes into 2 large baskets carefully. They had harvested at least 20 kilograms of grapes. That was a big harvest for wild-growing grapes. Seeing that Xiao and Shao Yunduan had got many mushrooms, they all cheered. They were going to have a lot to eat during dinner. They knew pretty well how tasty and fresh mushrooms in the mountains were. Shao Sanlang patted Qi's shoulders. "Qi, come on. You should catch at least 2 wild roosters for the mushrooms." They all laughed. The team walked forward and within an hour's time, they found grapes again. This patch wasn't as large, but they were still enough. They almost managed to fill up their baskets after this trip. So, Shao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni went home with the grapes first. Otherwise it would be too tiring to carry them around. Shao Sanlang still reminded Shao Xiaoqi as he was about to leave. "Qi, don't forget about the roosters, or even rabbits will do." Xiao laughed. Shao Xiaoqi threw a helpless look at him. "Don't worry, third brother, I am definitely going to get some." As the couple left, Xiao and the rest were holding cloth bags. They stopped looking for grapes, but turned to search for mushrooms and wild animals. They had more than 30 kilograms of grapes today, and they needed to deal with them before continuing the next day. Xiao could focus on finding the creeping figs at this moment. But she did not find any. Instead she found some more mushrooms whilst Shao Xiaogi got 3 roosters and 5 small birds, before they all headed home. On the way home, they got 1 muntjac. It was not that hot, especially during the night when the temperature dropped tremendously. The animals could stay fresh even when they were not processed on the same day. But they could not be put there for too long. They got down to work as soon as they came home. They needed to process the grapes overnight. They washed them, picked them off the twigs, filtered them and put them in the jars. Chapter 356. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong. The 30 kilograms of mushrooms were sorted by Qiao Xian, who processed them well. Some not so good-looking ones were picked out for dinner, and others were sun-dried. Thanks to the bright sun during the daytime, they should be put away after a few days. They almost finished the sun-dried mushrooms in spring, and what they had found today would be enough for them to make soup and hot pot in winter. They decided to eat 2 roosters and 2 birds for dinner. The remaining animals would be put in Xiao Xian's yard. Roosters were never that big, and the amount was enough for the large family. As the 2 birds were stewed with yams, one rooster had the breast meat sliced, marinated and battered, then stir-fried with fresh mushrooms. The rest was cut into dices and added with only ginger, garlic and scallions for braise. A plate of stir-fried wax gourd, a bowl of dry stir-fried beans, and a wolfberry sprout soup were served during dinner. Ms. Fong would not have minded to share some animals with the second and third section of the family in the past. But due to what Ms. Ma and third uncle did a while ago, and the ridiculous request they put forward as well as the annoying look of Ms. Niu, Ms. Fong was really disgusted with them. So Ms. Fong was not going to share anything with them at all. Eldest uncle had not yet said a thing when Ms. Fong snapped at him, so he fell silent. No one cared if he was happy about it or not. Anyways, they were already used to ignoring his feelings. He could not influence anyone around. After walking into the mountain for 3 days, they had found enough grapes. If they wanted to eat them in the future, they could bring them back in small quantities. But it was really not necessary because Xiao Xian's garden had them, and the fruits were particularly large, even bigger than the authentic wild ones. They even got many mushrooms, some of which were fresh and some were sun-dried. They discovered a small patch of date forest, which had 7 or 8 trees, thick in trunk with a diameter of 30 centimeters. The dates were already ripe, crispy and sweet. They paid a visit to the mountain 2 times and got all the red, ripe ones down. They carried them home to dry. These would be made into dried dates, added to the stewed soup, added to the tea, to the porridge or eaten as snacks. They could also be used to make date cakes or date paste fillings. In addition, there were other wild fruits that could not be named, which were weird in shape and different in colors. Xiao Xian could use her superpower to determine whether the fruits were poisonous or not. Actually, those wild children growing in the mountains could always tell that as well. Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Tao Tao got a few and presented them to Xiao Xian. After taking a break for 2 days at home, they decided to go into the mountains to find the creeping figs when Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong arrived there unexpectedly. Only now did Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan remember that they were here to hunt with them. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong were afraid of drawing the county magistrate's attention, so they changed into ordinary dresses and came with ordinary wagons, without showing anything about their real identities. The effort was totally worth the while. They spent 1 night at the hotel as they arrived at the county, and the following morning, they headed towards the village. But they again ran into Widow Sun the moment they came to the village. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 54 seconds p.m. Chapter 357. Chapter 357. Widow Sun again. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 357. Widow Sun again. Chu Shan, who was sitting on the wagon, exchanged a cold look with Widow Sun, snorted and looked away. It was this woman who tried to set up his young master and young master Xie, because of which he ended up being scolded. Chu Shan disliked this woman deeply. Widow Sun had not recognized Chu Shan at the beginning. She just found him a bit familiar. But wagons were rarely seen in the village, so she suddenly remembered who they were. It's them. So they are visiting Shao Yunduan again? How can that man get to know so many rich people? Widow Sun could not help but feel curious, wondering who was in the wagon. But she knew clearly that she could not visit them, otherwise Ms. Fong would blast her off. But Widow Sun was too curious to restrain herself. She could not help but wonder what on earth was going on there. So Widow Sun went to Ms. Niu again. Hey, remember what I told you about the guests of the first section of the family? They are 2 rich young masters in the wagon. Widow Sun winked. Your Myling is still unmarried, right? This is a great opportunity, and you can't miss it. If Tao Tao steals the show and becomes the wife of some rich people, your Myling will have a lot of difficulty in finding a better suitor. Ms. Niu did not want to speak with Widow Sun because Shao Yunduan turned her down last time when she asked. But when she heard the last sentence, she could not help but feel motivated. So, Shao Yunduan and Ms. Fong refused to introduce the 2 young masters to her because they expected Tao Tao to marry one of them? That was not going to work. Ms. Niu made up her mind and pursed her lips. Just forget about it. Shao Yunduan is nothing more than a cultivated talent. How rich can his friends be? But I can have a look at them. Ms. Niu got up and started walking. Widow Sun followed up, smiling. It depends on who you are comparing them to. The 2 men are in a wagon and they have servants. I believe that they are definitely richer than us, right? Ms. Niu snorted, and admitted that Widow Sun's words made sense. She thought the same thing as Widow Sunday. Those who could befriend Xiao Yunduan must be rich but not as rich as those big shots. If the two women knew how much wealth the Yuezheng family and the Xie family had, they would not think about having a marital relationship with them. Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao's sudden visit surprised Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. The family met them for the second time and was already used to their arrival. They greeted each other, and Ms. Fong put away the gifts they had with them. She asked young Xiaoni to boil water and prepare the tea whilst instructing Tao Tao to fetch the keys from Qiao Xian and pick some fresh grapes and dates from the garden to serve the guests. She had no idea about what to prepare for lunch, and decided to wait for Qiao Xian to figure it out. The two young masters looked neatly dressed and they seemed to be interested in dishes cooked by Qiao Xian, not others. Ms. Fong felt very honored that these two young masters had befriended her son, and she decided to treat them well. The tea leaf was lavender whilst the fruits were newly picked. Yuezheng Shao was very curious about everything in their family. Those ordinary-looking dates and grapes seemed quite unique in their eyes. They had a bite of each and sure enough, they tasted extremely good. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 53 seconds p.m. Chapter 358. Chapter 358. Ms. Niu's excitement. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 358. Ms. Niu's excitement. Yuezheng Shao said excitedly with a smile. The bergamots that you gave us last time grew so well that I shared two with Brother Xie, who gave them to his grandma. She loved it. Do you have any more of those? Please give us some more this time. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian gave that as a gift to Yuezheng Shao during the mid-autumn day, but they did not give it to Xie Jingrong. That was because her family and the Xie family were not in a very familiar relationship, and a family like the Xie family would not receive presents easily. They had no idea what to give to them, so they gave nothing to Xie Jingrong. Xiao Xian smiled. Yes, I have a dozen on the trees. All growing well. We will need 3 and 4 for the new year. You can take the rest away. The bergamots looked really good. Xiao Xian considered planting some more next year. Yuezheng Shao did not turn her down and smiled. Okay, I will take them. Xie Jingrong nodded with a smile to express his gratitude. They did not need to think about what to take and give. They were just exchanging gifts. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan laughed. They appreciated friends like Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong. They were just chatting, when Ms. Niu and Widow Sun walked in. Ms. Niu glanced about and her eyes brightened, her heart throbbing in excitement. These two young masters were so handsome. Look at the clothes they were wearing and the wagon and the servants. Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao were not into showing off. They were not exquisitely dressed for the trip to the Shao family in the village. That was why Ms. Niu believed that they were within her league, thus getting extremely excited. They looked handsome and they had money. They were just right to be her son-in-law. Yunduan and Ms. Fong were so stingy not to introduce them to her. Now that she was here, she was not going to let them stop her. Oh, we have guests over. I have never seen you before. Where are you from, two young masters? Oh yes, I am Yunduan's second aunt, married to his real second uncle. Ms. Niu was glancing at Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong, feeling quite confused and excited at the same time. Both of them looked so nice. Which one should she pick? Xie Jingrong frowned and stayed silent. Yuezheng Shao smiled, feeling that this so-called second aunt of Xiao Yunduan seemed quite rough, yet she was part of Xiao Yunduan's family. So he was about to answer her when Xiao Xian stood up. She took hold of Ms. Niu's arm and smiled. Second aunt, you are here to speak with my mother, right? She is in the backyard. Come with me. She then glanced at Widow Sun, who was rolling her eyes. She asked her straightforwardly. Aunt Sun, what are you doing here? Visiting my mother. Widow Sun smiled and said, we are guests and we can of course see each other. But Miss Qiao, you are a junior in the family and you should not speak with me like this in front of guests, right? Xiao Xian had no interest in concealing anything in front of Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao. After all, not everything could be concealed or ignored. For example, Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, who always tried to portray as if they were a good united family. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong would not mind the truth about their family situation, since they were friends. The two of them understood clearly what Ms. Niu was like the moment she showed up. It was totally reasonable when she spoke harshly. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 52 seconds p.m. Chapter 359. Chapter 359. Driving away. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 359. Driving away. Also, they both were from big, noble families, where they had seen infights all the time. So they would not dislike them for no reason. Xiao Xian smiled. You spread a rumor about our family and had a fight with my mother. I am just curious about what you are doing here at our door? Yuezheng Shao burst into laughter. Widow Sun had not expected that Xiao Xian would humiliate her in front of everybody. Her cheeks flushed in embarrassment and she got so angry that she could not utter a word. Ms. Xiao, how dare you? Ms. Niu glanced at Xiao Xian with an accusing look. Then she smiled at Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao. Oh young masters, this is what my niece-in-law is like. She has no idea what she is doing. Don't get mad at her. Oh yes, where are you from? What are your names? Yuezheng Shao smiled. Ms. Xiao and Brother Xiao are both very nice people. Jingrong nodded. True. Ignoring Ms. Niu, Xiao Xian pulled her away when Ms. Fong and Yang Xiaoni came out of the backyard, looking dumbfounded seeing the two women. Ms. Fong took hold of Ms. Niu and dragged her away. Widow Sun got a glare from Ms. Fong and she hurried away saying that she had something else to do at home. Ms. Fong grabbed Ms. Niu in the backyard, saying furiously, Stop being so embarrassing at my house. Ms. Niu was unhappy. Why am I embarrassing you? You just don't want us to live a better life. These two young masters look like a great match for my Miling. Stop it. Nah. Ms. Fong almost wanted to give her a kick. Ms. Niu, they are Yunduan's friends and they are here to visit Yunduan. Look at your Miling. How can she be a match for them? Don't turn her into a joke so she has no reputation left. Or else don't regret your actions later. Their marriages will be determined by their families. If you want to make your daughter into either of their wife, go and recommend her in front of them directly. You, Ms. Niu sneered, hearing Ms. Fang's harsh words. What are you talking about? I know what you are thinking. Ms. Niu lowered her voice. You are planning to match Tao Tao to them, right? What? Ms. Fong was startled, not knowing what Ms. Niu meant. When she realized what Ms. Niu was trying to say, she raised her hands and almost slapped right on her face. No one is as greedy and imaginative as you are. Ms. Niu sneered and did not believe her. Anyway, you are welcome to think what you like. Ms. Fong said coldly. They are my guests, and if you dare to do anything, I will not forgive you, ever. Having said that, Ms. Fong drove Ms. Niu out. Ms. Niu did not dare to walk into the room and left in anger. She was not giving up. She loved those two young masters and she needed to work hard for them. She understood clearly that it was the only chance she could have. Inside the room, Shao Yunduan smiled. Sorry for the commotion. Please forgive them for what they have done and said. Shao Yunduan did not want to tell them anything bad about Ms. Niu and the other woman. But he needed to warn them. The two women might come up with some other ideas later. Yuezheng Shao smiled. Brother Xiao, don't worry. Every family has its own problems. My family affairs might be even worse than yours. Jingrong smiled. The Xie family had many internal problems too, but not that bad, since no one dared to make a scene in front of him. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 51 seconds p.m. Chapter 360. Chapter 360. New house. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 360. New house. Yuezheng Shao was sincerely treating Shao Yunduan as his real friend. Xiao Xian made lunch. She killed a duck and braised it with sauce. Then she made a pot of sour soup with small miscellaneous fish, steamed mandarin fish, tomato eggs, stir-fried wolfberry, shredded lettuce, and beans according to the custom. Shao Yunduan ate with Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao outside, and the others were eating in the kitchen. Those from the first section of the family were quite calm compared to the last time when they met Yuezheng Shao and Jingrong. Even someone as honest as Shao Dalong came over and greeted them with a forced, embarrassed smile. Anyway, they were just very happy that the two young masters were from a good family, and were willing to visit them at home and befriend his brother. In the afternoon, Yuezheng Shao mentioned hunting and he had a long conversation with Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Tao Tao. Yuezheng Shao got even more interested after that. They were here to go hunting in the mountains, so they decided to return the following morning. They did not show any disdainful look at the Shao family's house. But the Shao family's house was not large enough to hold 4 people and 1 coachman. Since they had a wagon, they could head back to the town quickly. It was almost 4 in the afternoon when Yuezheng, Xiao and Jingrong went back to the town. Ms. Niu brought her daughter to their home, claiming that she wanted to have a chit-chat with Tao Tao. But in fact, she was planning on something else. Ms. Fong had already prepared for it. Before they could enter the yard, she drove them away, and even implicitly warned Xiao Meiling. She told her not to behave stupidly like her mother lest she became a laughingstock. Xiao Meiling left with her cheeks burning red. Ms. Niu glared at Ms. Fong and left timidly. Ms. Fong was speechless. She was telling the truth and was doing it for Xiao Meiling's sake. Did Ms. Niu think that everyone else was stupid? The village was too small to hold a secret. Widow Sun, for example, talked a lot and she knew about this matter. It was shameless for Ms. Niu to get Xiao Meiling to meet the 2 young masters, especially under a thinly disguised excuse. If the marriage worked out well, then all was fine. Otherwise, who would dare to marry Xiao Meiling afterwards? Ms. Fong knew clearly that this matter would not work. Therefore, she decided to re-modify the house, especially making the gate tighter and locked properly. In the evening, Ms. Fong said to the whole family, "Our house is too shabby and old, small too. Chi is getting married in a few years and you will all have children, so it is not big enough to hold you all. We need to build a new house." It was a major thing to build a new house and everyone got very excited, talking between themselves. Xiao Xian showed concern about it too. She could not help but look at Xiao Yunduan. They exchanged a look which made Xiao Xian feel quite embarrassed. She moved her gaze away from him. Did it mean that she was not leaving Xiao Yunduan, ever? She had decided not to leave a long time ago, but she had not said that out loud. Also, Xiao Yunduan had not said anything to have her stay back. But the way she behaved seemed so obvious to Xiao Yunduan, who felt quite delighted. Eldest uncle sighed. "We do need to build 2 more rooms, but do we have any money for that?" Ms. Fong said. 2 more rooms? We need to demolish the whole house and build a brand new one, to live a cozier life. As for money, we have saved some. Eldest uncle. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 51 seconds p.m. Chapter 361. Chapter 361. Speechless. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 361. Speechless. When did she save money? Why was he not aware of that? At this point, Xiao Xian chipped in to clear this up. Xiao Xian smiled. "Dad, we went into the mountains a while ago, right? We found a patch of valuable medical herbs and sold them to the pharmacies in town, earning more than 50 liang, just enough for a new house." What? The eldest uncle's eyes widened as he responded in surprise. How much? More than 50 liang. Actually, Ms. Fong had decided to spend 200 liang to build a grand new house, but she cut the number as she said it out loud. Eldest uncle wasn't good at counting, so he would never know the real numbers. He was kept away from the truth not because they were afraid of the 2nd and 3rd section of the family. They just wanted to save unnecessary trouble so that everyone could live a happy and peaceful life. Soon the 2nd and 3rd section of the family would get used to them being ignored. Eldest uncle was startled. Which medical herbs are so valuable? Xiao Xian replied crisply. Gastrodia, which is required by the pharmacies, and that's why they paid us such an amount. Eldest uncle said voluntarily, "So many good things in the mountains. You should describe it well so your 2nd uncle and 3rd uncle could also join you next time to seek it." Everyone felt silent. "Okay." Xiao Xian said with a smile, "Gastrodia is rarely seen and we only ran into it once. When we see it next time, we will definitely bring it for them to learn from." Eldest uncle opened his mouth, feeling that something was wrong. But he could not figure out clearly what was wrong. He nodded. Okay. Xiao Xian really looked down at eldest uncle, who considered himself the head of the family. He kept taking unnecessary burdens onto his shoulders but still ended up being looked down upon by everyone. What did he really want from his actions? Xiao Xian did not think that she would ever understand what he wanted in his life. Ms. Fong said, "Just don't tell them right now about it. The medical herbs aren't found easily. If that was the case, they wouldn't be so valuable. If you tell them now, they may get anxious." Eldest uncle felt uncomfortable but replied with a nod. Xiao Sanlang said with a smile, "Mom, we are building a new house. Aren't Ms. Fong looked motivated?" Of course. Everyone discussed how big the new house should be, how many rooms, and what kind of construction should be done. 200 liang would be plenty, but Xiao Xian thought about adding some of her savings to the building so that the wall could be higher and best materials could be used for the decoration. What was the point of being rich and not use her money for making something good? This was a major event, and naturally it would not be finalized for a while. When everyone dispersed, they were still excited. The following day, Yuezheng, Shao and Jingrong arrived there early in the morning. Xiao Xian and the others all got up early too. Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao happened to be right on time for breakfast. For breakfast, there was white porridge that was thick and fragrant, as well as steamed flour rolls and steamed buns. The homemade kimchi included radish strips, cowpeas, red peppers, carrots, green lettuce which had been placed on the table. Also, there was a plate of crispy finger-sized fried fish wrapped in batter, diced radish, shiitake mushrooms, and diced chili sauce that acted as side dishes to accompany the meal. In particular, the kimchi had a special fragrance, salty and sour, refreshing and bright in color. Just looking at it made people salivate. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 50 seconds p.m. Chapter 362. Chapter 362. Into Mountains. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 362. Into Mountains. Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao had never seen this kind of food before. They started to drool when they smelled it. They had eaten breakfast, but when Shao Yunduan asked them to join him, they still ate half a bowl of porridge with kimchi. Yuezheng Shao still had some lingering taste in his mouth. "Your kimchi tastes really good. I am already addicted to it." Xiao Sanlang stepped forward and said emotionally, "That is true. I also feel so. But my mom stops me from eating much." His ECU 1B. She glanced at her dumb son. He ate too much to suffer from indigestion, but he was now saying that he could not eat enough? He was so dumb. Yuezheng Shao laughed. Xiao Xian said, "It is very easy to make it. I can tell you how to make it, and you can ask your servants to do it for you." Making kimchi was the same as making pickles. Anyone who could make food could make it. Xiao Xian had not thought about selling it for money, so she could share the recipe easily. Tao Tao and Xiao Xian often made one huge bowl for the family's consumption. It was very easy to make, and the ingredients were easy to prepare as well. But the whole thing tasted great, and that added some fun in their food, which was wonderful. Yuezheng Shao felt a bit shy and said, "We come to your home to get a lot of things. It is very generous of you to share it all with us." Jingrong said, "We have some wonderful recipes for making pastries at our home too, and I can share them with you." Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled and she nodded with a smile. Okay, that would be wonderful." Yuezheng Shao smiled. "I have some too, and I am happy to share them with you." Having eaten breakfast, they wrapped 10 steamed buns and picked the tools to take along with them. Soon, they headed straight into the mountains. Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao's servants followed along. They had changed into some comfortable clothes and shoes that were easy to walk in. They wanted to go deep into the mountains for a great hunt. Shao Xiaoqi was very excited about being the guide for the gang. He wanted to show what he was capable of, hoping secretly that they could run into some large prey such as wild goats and deer, but not as large as wild boars, bears or tigers. The original ecological forest had beautiful scenery, majestic and quiet, including strange rocks. Sometimes a clear stream flowed past, and occasionally they could see waterfalls of different sizes, autumn chrysanthemums swaying, and the color-changing leaves flying with the wind. There were all kinds of red and purple wild fruits adorning the branches, a feast for the eyes. Yuezheng Shao and Jingrong had hunted before, but no one ever dared to take them into the real mountains. They only went to the foot of the mountains or a shallow cluster to have fun. It was the first time for them to be inside such deep mountains. Even the air they breathed in seemed to be rather different. They were quite amazed by this kind of landscape, and spoke highly of it. Seeing that young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng, who were born in a noble family, were so interested in this kind of place, Xiao Sanlang and Xiao Xiaoqi could not help but admire them. They kept telling them about the surroundings, and they were engaged in an animated conversation with each other. Xiaoqi would hunt wild roosters and rabbits when they ran into those animals. Sometimes, he would ask the two young masters to pull the arrow on the right occasion. Yuezheng Xiao did not know how to shoot. He only did that based on his own instinct and unsurprisingly, missed the target all the time. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 49 seconds p.m. Chapter 363. Chapter 363. His skills if audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 363. His skills Jingrong was quite a surprise. He managed to hit 2 wild roosters. They were shocked but Jingrong just smiled, saying that he had learned a little bit of shooting and riding before. Shao Yunduan could not help but admire him secretly. A well-mannered man should have 6 skills, including shooting and riding. Jingrong was really good at shooting and riding after being trained by the Xie family, and he looked elegant when he did it. That was amazing. Both Chu Shan and Xie Dong were delighted. They barely had this kind of fun before, and every time one prey was shot down, they would go to fetch it as if they had hit it themselves. Yuezheng Xiao was not sad even if he failed. They were just here for fun. Apart from hunting, Xiaoqi and Tao Tao even picked some wild fruits to share with them, like wild grapes. They also came across a few peach trees. The red fruit was not much bigger than a duck's egg. It tasted good, crisp and sweet, with a peachy fragrance. So they got a few ripe ones to take them home. Qiao Xian picked some mushrooms, which drew Yuezheng Xiao's curiosity. Half a day passed, and there were no large animals seen, but soon after lunch, they ran into a muntjac. Xiao Zioqi's eyes sparkled. He rubbed his hands in excitement. We are lucky to run into such a large dude. Sure, no sound, it is quite cautious. Xiao Zioqi's thick eyebrows were raised, and he looked sharp. He stopped the others from moving, but amongst the shadow of bushes and trees, he moved forward slowly. At the proper distance, he pulled the bow, aimed with one eye shut at the animal's heart and released the arrow directly. It hit right on the animal's heart. The animal let out a scream and then collapsed. It struggled for a while and finally stopped moving. Chu Shan and Xie Dong cheered. He hit it again. The 2 servants rushed to carry the animal back. You are great, Qi. Yuezheng Xiao raised his thumb at Xiaoqi, complimenting him sincerely. Xiaoqi scratched his head and smiled in embarrassment. It's okay. Very good, not just okay. Yuezheng Xiao said with a smile. Especially when he was hunting the muntjac a while ago, Xiao Zioqi's whole state immediately became different. He was a bit fierce when he was serious, with that posture, that movement, that expression. Those who did not know what was going on would think that he was not hunting, but facing a fierce enemy. When he thought about how he had hunted the roosters and rabbits, he seemed to be just having fun. You can join the army. You will definitely shine there. Right, brother Xie? Jingrong nodded. Yes, Qi, you are totally professional, and if you join the army, you can stand out very easily. Who taught you all of these skills? Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian exchanged a look and their hearts sank. They did not think that it was not the right time to tell the truth, but they had no idea what else to say. Both of them were quite surprised too that Qi seemed to be an expert. But then who was Hunter Zhao? Who taught him these skills? Why did he spend the rest of his life in this village? Xiaoqi replied casually. It's not a big deal. An experienced hunter taught me these, but he passed away a few years ago. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 48 seconds p.m. Chapter 364. Chapter 364. Rejection if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 364. Rejection. The hunter had instructed him to tell this version to those who asked him where he learned the skills. He was asked not to say anything more than that. Oh, what a pity! Yuezheng Xiao and Jingrong did not dwell on the matter any longer when they heard that he had learned it from an experienced hunter. They even believed that they had been mistaken. They were not very professional people, and they might have been mistaken about Xiaoqi. But one thing was for sure. Xiaoqi would have a promising future if he joined the army. Shao Yunduan smiled. Qi is still too young to leave home. If we can support ourselves at home, our parents would not let him join the army. Yuezheng Xiao smiled. Yes, that makes sense. Jingrong nodded and added. If you ever change your mind one day, you can tell me about it. The Xie family had no direct contacts in the military, but it was easy for them to help Shao Xiaoqi. Shao Yunduan thanked Xie Jingrong sincerely. "Thank you so much, brother. You are welcome." With a lot of load on their shoulders, they finally decided to head home. They ran into a patch of wild lilies, so they paused to dig some. Lilies could be first steamed and sun-dried, then dried and put away, to add to soup, porridge, and even in boiled sugar water. They could also be ground into powder and added to cakes. Fresh lilies were delicious whether they were fried or woked with beef. They looked like snowflakes of petals. Extremely beautiful. After they went back home, they sorted and processed the goods. The whole family was used to this kind of work, so everything was settled quickly. They had many hunted animals at home, including 12 roosters, 6 wild rabbits as well as some other small birds. Autumn muntjac were extraordinarily plump, and so was this one. The fur was shiny, and the meat was firm and tender at first glance. It weighed about the second and third section of the family were all here to check out the spoils from the mountains, so they had to share some with them. They could not put away the meat because it would get rotten, and the villagers would not spend money in buying these animals unless it was for New Year, even though they were sold at a low price. Ms. Fong gave 2 roosters and 1 rabbit to each section of the family. She even shared 2.5 to 3 kilograms meat of muntjac with them as well. Ms. Niu did not expect that the 2 young masters were here again. She regretted deeply inside her heart and kept complaining about Shao Sanlang and Qi. "You went hunting in the mountains? Why didn't you take your second cousin and fourth cousin as well as Miling with you? They could have contributed to your hunt." The 2 young masters would not have been to mountains before and they needed to be taken care of. She saved some of her face by avoiding saying directly that Shao Miling would have taken care of them. She was trying to flatter Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong, and her eyes were rolling and glancing at them as she talked. But neither of them spoke to her. Ms. Fong added, "They just took a walk around in the mountains. What was the point of bringing so many people alongside? That would only lead to trouble." "That is not true. The 2 young masters are from the city and they are not born like us rural people. They can't stand the pain, right? We could have taken good care of them." Ms. Niu was still staring at the 2 young masters, but neither of them turned their heads to look at her. Ms. Fong got so annoyed with her embarrassing behavior that she drove her out and said, "It is getting late, second sister-in-law. How about going home to make dinner? The meat is fresh and needs to be cooked well." Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 47 seconds p.m. Chapter 365. Chapter 365. The jelly made of the creeping figs. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 365. The jelly made of the creeping figs. Ms. Niu could not help but feel greedy. It was getting very late, and the 2 young masters must be leaving soon. She could not do anything with the first section of the family around, so she had to leave. But the 2 young masters did not leave. Instead, they stayed back for dinner. The freshly hunted animals should be excellent to eat. Chao Xian used all kinds of seasonings and prepared the dinner. They had dried bamboo shoots, fresh mushrooms, and she woke them together for some plain yet delicious homemade dishes. After dinner, Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong left. Chao Xian said to them with a smile, "Remember to come for breakfast tomorrow morning. We can have steamed buns with those meat as fillings." Both of them nodded in agreement. They did come for breakfast the following morning. Chao Xian and Ms. Su got up early to cook breakfast. The meat of 2 roosters was removed, and the remaining chicken racks were used to cook porridge. The rooster was chopped, and some chopped green onions and shiitake mushrooms were added to make the bun stuffing. The muntjac meat was minced for pies. They added some hot and sour kimchi and chili sauce, making the breakfast look delicious and appetizing. They ate breakfast and headed into the mountains again. Yuezheng Shao and Xie Jingrong loved the landscape of this place. They were not tired at all. They were heading back the following day, so they kept hunting more animals and decided to bring them back home. They were very lucky, because Chao Xian finally found the creeping figs she was looking for. The fruits were slightly bigger than eggs, resembling steamed buns. One bush had many fruits on it. Chao Xian pretended to look surprised. "Oh man, those are the creeping figs, really good things. Pick them and we can make jelly with them." The creeping figs were sliced open and there were many thin seeds that could be used to make jelly. This kind of seed could be preserved for a long time after drying. When they wanted to eat jelly, They could just wrap it in gauze and gently scrub it back and forth in water. Then they could add a little gypsum and it would solidify into transparent jelly. If they could add some almond powder or Blatilla striata powder, they could get jelly with different colors. These can be used to make jelly? Shao, Xiaoqi and Tao Tao were both very surprised. Chao Xian used grass to make jelly, but did this plant work too? Chao Xian nodded with a smile. Tao Tao cheered. Let's pick them. Jelly was a really good thing, and they all loved it. They were so delighted hearing that they could make jelly with this and that it was preservable. Yuezheng, Shao and Jingrong had no idea what it was. What is jelly? Chao Xian smiled. A kind of snack. Let's go home early today and I can make some for you. If you like it, we can dry the creeping figs and have them delivered to you. Yuezheng Shao smiled. Of course, that must be a good thing. They all laughed. They had more than 50 kilograms of the creeping figs, and Chao Xian asked Shao Xiaoqi to remember this spot because they were going to return in a couple of days to chop some twigs to bring home. They would need to have some figs too. They carried the figs together, so it was not very heavy for them. Then, they continued with the hunting. However, they still failed to run into huge animals, except for a gang of wild boars. They were large in size, and had sharp teeth. They did not dare to move until the animals were gone. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 46 seconds p.m. Chapter 366. Chapter 366. Business. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 366. Business. There were large animals in the mountains, many of them actually, but they were not to be hunted. Chao Xian found a herd of wild sheep, mountain deer, and muntjac several times, but the distance was not close, and the mountain road was not easy to walk. By the time they walked over, they would have gone nowhere. They were not professional hunters and they were not strong enough to run after them. Shao Xiaoqi might be able to cope up, but not the rest. No one would allow Shao Xiaoqi to hunt them down alone anyway. What if something happened to him? Anyways, what they had got was already enough. Back at home, Chao Xian and Tao Tao started to make the jelly together. The fresh creeping figs worked well. When the jelly that was solidified like crystal in the large porcelain bowl was ready, they used a spoon to scoop small pieces into the small bowl to break it, added the boiled honey syrup and a little mint juice, and carried them out. Everyone from the first section of the family seemed to look forward to the jelly, including the two youngest children who were really eager to eat them. Yuezheng, Shao and Jingrong got even more curious about it. When the jelly was finally served, they saw how it looked and became aware that the waiting was worth it. They took a spoonful of it quickly. It was smooth, tender, and elastic. The sweetness of honey and the coolness of mint adjusted the taste of jelly, turning it into a delicious snack. Yuezheng Shao was surprised. How amazing! How can the fruits lead to such a thing? Jingrong was very impressed as well. They were born noble and had been offered numerous delicious things, but they were only served when the dishes were ready. That was the first time for them to pick the ingredients, make them and see how the dishes were prepared. So they found the whole thing really interesting. The fruits that looked so ordinary had been turned into such crystal-clear jelly after some processing. It looked beautiful and was delicious too. Chao Xian smiled. Later, I will ask my husband to write the recipe to you, and you should take some of these fresh fruits back. It's too late today, but you can add some chopped walnuts, chopped peanuts, raisins, etc., or even diced fresh fruit to this jelly. It would taste excellent. It's a pity that there is no ice at home. Otherwise adding crushed ice makes it more delicious. Yuezheng Shao and Jingrong thanked her happily. Yuezheng Shao looked at the couple and suddenly smiled. Brother Shao and sister-in-law, I have an idea. Why don't we open another store and just sell this jelly? Brother Xia, join us as well. You'll find two reliable dessert masters. Besides this jelly, if I think about a few other things, this shop will definitely be operated well. Brother Xia and I pay the cost, and we share the profit equally. As for the raw materials, Brother Shao and the others provide them here, and the store buys them at market prices. Chao Xian had predicted something like this to happen. She exchanged a look with Shao Yunduan, who did not object, so Chao Xian smiled. That should work, when it gets hotter next year. We can find some fruits before it happens. Otherwise the raw materials would not be enough. But we can't just keep looking for fruits. since their availability is totally out of our control. We can buy land and plant them ourselves. Yuezheng Xiao smiled vigorously. You can think about this whilst we can find some suitable store for it. We should make it work, though it is a small thing, the profit should be huge. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 45 seconds p.m. Chapter 367. Chapter 367. Not aware if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 367. Not aware, then they started to have some discussion about the new venture. In this way, the recipe should not be spread around, and Jingrong, Yuezheng Xiao expressed that they would only ask their most trusted servants to do that, not others. Moreover, they would never tell anyone that the creeping figs were the original material used for making the jelly. Xiao Xian was glad because with Yuezheng Xiao's help, she would be able to open the shop soon. All she needed to do henceforth was to lie still and get earnings, instead of being worried about getting set up by competitors. Although she did have the plan of opening a few dessert stores after a few years, she also believed that finding a partner would help a lot. However, one store would not bring in much money. Only a chain of shops would help to bring in a lot of profits. They could serve sugar water jelly as the main dishes whilst adding some exquisite pastries and snacks. As for how they should do that in detail, they needed to have some more discussions. Xiao Xian did not need to worry about page boys that ran errands, because Yuezheng Xiao and Jingrong would help with that. They could arrange someone to do that and there would be no obstacles for them. It was definitely much easier to do the business in a partnership than being alone. Yuezheng Xiao and Jingrong staved back at the first section of the family for dinner. Rabbit meat was fried in oil, the roosters were stewed in water, and a few small grouse were simply marinated and then deep fried. They were the size of pigeons, and were easy to cook in a pan. The skin was golden and crispy, the meat was tender and juicy. They made another pot of sauerkraut and mixed fish, and stir-fried 2 fresh vegetables. They were going away the following day, but they would visit them and stay overnight when the new house was built. Ms. Fong smiled and nodded at the 2 guests in enthusiasm. Xiao Xian and Ms. Fong prepared a lot for them to bring away, including bergamots, roosters, hares, fresh mushrooms, fungus, some fresh fruits. Since they were leaving, the dinner was prepared ahead of time. They were just about to eat dinner, when Shao, Liulang and third uncle arrived. Third uncle was feeling a bit displeased. Yunduan, your friends are here, why not ask your cousin to join you, you just don't know what to do. Shao Liulang had been studying at the college in town for years and he could figure out people better than his family did. Judging from Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao's manners, he could tell that they were not in a low position and that they were not just some rich people or ordinary businessmen. Especially Jingrong, who looked so handsome and well-behaved. He was definitely more than just an elegant man. Shao Liulang let out a sigh of relief. Hearing that the first section of the family was receiving some guests, who were Shao Yunduan's rich friends, he had the intention of coming and seeing what was going on. He did not expect his mother to come with him because he knew clearly that his mother would ruin his face. He did not even want Xiaoji to come along, fearing that she would cause trouble as well. Hearing what his father said, Shao Liulang interrupted with a gentle tone. Dad, don't say such words about your cousin. We are in a good relationship, and his friends are mine too. He probably thought that I would not like joining them in the mountains, thus he didn't tell me about it. Third uncle was startled. But it is fine. Just go home, Dad. Mom is waiting for you at the dinner table. Third uncle had no idea what made his son do so, yet he believed that he had a reason for his behavior. So he had to press down his questions and quietly left in silence. Shao Liulang walked up in a manner he considered elegant, and greeted Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao with a smile. My name is Shao Yunjiang from Minghua College, Yunduan's 6th cousin. How should I address the 2 of you, Pai? Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 45 seconds p.m. Chapter 368. Chapter 368. Forget it if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 368. Forget it. Yuezheng Xiao almost rolled his eyes. Why should I tell you how I am addressed? Shao Yunduan felt very helpless. He did not think that his cousin was leaving any time soon and he could not drive him away either. Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao could not just reveal their identity but mention their surnames. You can call me young Master Xie. Me too, I am young master Yu. Yuezheng Xiao said inwardly that not everyone would be allowed to call him young master Xia. It was already an honor. Otherwise, they would not even want to look at this young man. Liulang did not find the attitude of the two of them embarrassing. He smiled and sat down comfortably. Oh, two young masters, greetings, welcome to our village. Shao Yunduan. Anyway, he decided to keep a low profile. The moment third uncle left, Miss Fong asked Tao Tao to shut the door. Miss Fong regretted not having closed the door to avoid the trouble. Seeing the flattering smile on Shao Liulang's face, Miss Fong could not help but feel furious. Soon the sound of door knocking arose, and instead of opening the door, Tao Tao went to get her mother. Miss Fong came to open the door with Yang Xiaoni and Tao Tao, seeing that it was Ms. Niu at the doorstep. Ms. Niu glanced at Ms. Fong who did not let her in, so she snapped angrily. Eldest sister-in-law, what are the two young masters doing here again? Why didn't you ask our sons and Meiling to join them into the mountains for hunting? You can't possibly be avoiding us just because you have befriended some rich people. Miss Fong almost fainted out of annoyance. They are Yunduan's friends. Miss Niu pursed her lips. So what? My sons can make friends with them too. Those two young men were just slightly richer than they were, so what? Miss Niu would never want to befriend them but for their looks. Those two handsome young masters were just right to become her daughter-in-law. Ms. Niu was still wondering which young master she should pick for her daughter. Ms. Fong snorted. They like quietness, and don't prefer spending time with people they don't know. Ms. Niu's lips pursed. They can develop friendship, right? Are they leaving soon? Will they come tomorrow? Ms. Fang's eyes rolled as she replied with a sarcastic smile. Of course they are leaving, but I am not sure if they will come back tomorrow. Ms. Niu heard that and decided to squeeze in. I will go and ask them. Save your breath. They are leaving soon. Ms. Fong said, you can ask Yunduan. Don't try to push your way in. Ms. Niu was unconvinced. Ms. Fong sneered. Those roosters and wild rabbits are not enough for you. Hearing the threat, Ms. Niu was still annoyed but did not dare to counter her. All right, I will come and ask Yunduan later. Fine. Ms. Fong shut the door and kept Ms. Niu outside. Ms. Niu was not convinced. But she did not want to argue with Ms. Fong so as to leave a bad impression on the guests. She stared at the first section of the family's house and decided to wait until the guests came out. She would step forward then to meet them. Let's see if Ms. Fong would be able to stop her. If Meiling could marry a good family, the first section of the family would be honored too, right? What were they trying to hide here anyway? The eldest brother kept talking about how united they were as a family. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 44 seconds p.m. Chapter 369. Chapter 369. Too annoying if audio player doesn't work. Press stop then play button again. Chapter 369. Too annoying. They lived separately and they only cared about themselves. They should not trust him too easily. In the hallroom, dishes were served at the table, and Shao Yunduan, Shao Sanlang, Shao Xiaoqi as well as Shao Liulang were all keeping the guests company. Shao Dalong and eldest uncle were not yet back. They were not at all shy to talk about everything. Chu Shan and the page boys had been provided food as well. Ms. Fong and Xiao Xian had not yet started to eat, because they were waiting for Shao Dalong, Ms. Su and eldest uncle to return. Even though Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao ignored Shao Liulang completely, yet he still behaved as if he were very well-mannered and learned so as to leave a good impression on the two young masters. He did not intend to leave when the dinner was served, especially when he saw the delicious dishes on the table. As the strong scent went into his nose, he could not help but swallow down his saliva. Shao Liulang did not believe that the first section of the family had made those dishes. He assumed that Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao had brought the food from some restaurant from the town. That made him feel even more envious. The dishes must have cost a lot because they included meat and were delicious, well-made and filled with rich ingredients. These two young masters were so generous. They must belong to really rich families. As they were seated, Shao Sanlang and Qi also took their seats. But Shao Liulang said, "Third cousin and Qi, you don't read, what is the point of being seated here? You won't understand what we are talking about. You can leave us here instead." Shao Sanlang rolled his eyes. Leaving them here? Whose home was this? He not only came to their home to show off but even behaved as if he were the master of the family. Xiao Sanlang did not want to be talked down to. Before Xiao Yunduan said a thing, he smiled. Sixth cousin, this is not right. What about you going back home and asking the third aunt to prepare a table of dishes to treat the two young masters? Xiao Liulang stiffened and asked with displeasure. What do you mean? Jingrong said, Sanlang and Qi are both very nice. Yuezheng Xiao laughed. Let's just eat. We should leave before it gets too dark. Xiao Yunduan smiled and nodded. Please. Xiao Liulang was quite displeased but said nothing more. Seeing that everyone started to eat, he could not stand it anymore. He took a piece of meat and bit it, and found that it was delicious. He added half a golden fried grouse, and it was amazing as well. He wished that he could even chew the bones. Xiao Liulang kept reminding himself to remain well-mannered. Still he just could not help but reach for the dishes. He enjoyed it so much that he forgot to suck up to Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao. As a result, Xiao Yunduan and Jingrong as well as Yuezheng Xiao had a nice chat with each other. It was a good meal, but it was a bit disappointing for some outsiders to get in. Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao didn't eat much, but Xiao Sanlang and Qi didn't want to let Xiao Liulang eat too much, so they kept eating. By the end, Xiao Liulang was quite full. Jingrong, Yuezheng Xiao waved goodbye to Xiao Yunduan and Ms. Feng, as they put the things onto the wagon and were about to leave. Yuezheng Xiao had taken away the 1,500 lipsticks and 500 lip balms. Xiao Xian planned to make several more lip balms, since they just had this much raw materials. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 43 seconds p.m. Chapter 370. Chapter 370. Goodbye. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 370. Goodbye. Generally speaking, Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao were very satisfied by what happened. They enjoyed the landscape, hunted, ate good food and started a new business plan. They waved goodbye to each other at the door. Jingrong tried his best to go forward just to speak a few words with Jingrong, trying to hold Jingrong's hands. But Dong could not stand it anymore and separated Xiao Liulang from Jingrong. He said impolitely, "Stay away from my young master." Jingrong glanced at Dong and said calmly, Okay, do not be so rude to brother Xiao's cousin." Hearing that, Xiao Xian almost burst out in laughter. Dong apologized. "Sorry for being so straightforward, sorry." Instead of saying anything more, Jingrong gave him an understanding look. Jingrong was a very outstanding man, and was used to being pestered by outsiders. He knew what to do so as to turn people down. But he had never run into someone as annoying as Xiao Liulang. Xiao Liulang understood clearly what Jingrong meant. He forced an embarrassed smile and his cheeks turned red. Having said the words, Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao went onto the wagon. At the same time, Ms. Niu rushed forward with Xiao Miling, whose face was flushed. "Oh, two young masters." Ms. Niu rushed forward and smiled. "It is getting so late. Why not stay for one more night? We have 2 empty rooms for you to stay overnight." "Second aunt, these two young masters still have business to do and anyways, we can entertain them well. Don't worry about it." Xiao Yunduan had not wanted to start an argument with them, but they were getting more and more ridiculous. Ignoring him, Ms. Niu shouted, seeing the wagons which were ready to leave. "Two young masters, have you both gotten engaged?" Jingrong was speechless. Yuezheng Xiao chuckled, lifted the curtain and said, "We are both engaged, and our fiancés are born noble, good at flute, chess, calligraphy and painting. Even their maids are good at reading and writing poetry." "Ms. Niu." Yuezheng Xiao laughed, nodded at Xiao Yunduan and put down the curtains. They left as the coachman whipped the horse. Ms. Feng sneered. "You are older than them, right? How can you ask them such a thing? What would you do if they were not engaged?" Ms. Niu snapped angrily. "I am just asking, okay? They are my nephew's friends, and they are younger than me. Why can't I ask them about it?" "Second aunt." Xiao Yunduan threw a cold look at Ms. Niu. "Second aunt, and third aunt, stop being so arrogant in the future. We live separately, so don't try to get involved in our business. Also, don't ever think about befriending my friends, otherwise, I will do something about it next time." Thank goodness Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao were people with a good temper and had a good relationship with him. Otherwise the whole thing would have been so embarrassing. But what about the future? He might make more friends. If every time, the second and third section of the family kept getting themselves involved in his business, it would be very troublesome for all. What? Remember what I said, second aunt. Xiao Yunduan said coldly and left. He wasn't a very talkative person, nor did he get angry easily. So when he did get angry, Ms. Niu and Ms. Fong were both startled. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 42 seconds p.m. Chapter 371. Chapter 371. Son-in-law. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 371. Son-in-law. Ms. Fong, who had been holding down her anger for the whole day, finally lost it upon hearing what Xiao Yunduan said. She sneered at Ms. Niu. Heard that? Stop messing around. Why can't you just live your own life well? Why do you keep causing others trouble? I will not be nice to you anymore, if you continue like this. You! Ms. Niu told herself that they had never been nice to them. Ignoring her, Ms. Fong and her family went back to their home and shut the door. Ms. Niu said furiously, "What are you so angry about? You are just mean people who get lucky. What is the point of being so conceited just because you have got a rich daughter-in-law?" Ms. Niu mumbled and left hesitantly. She was totally disappointed. Her son-in-laws were gone. Why were they engaged? That was such a pity. Ms. Niu dropped the idea when the two young masters were engaged. It was never easy to break an engagement. But Xiao Meiling looked disappointed. Xiao Meiling felt so ashamed when hearing what Ms. Fong said to her and had almost dropped the idea. But she got totally dumbfounded when she saw the two young masters personally. The two young masters looked so handsome that she just could not move her eyes off them. She had never seen such good-looking people before. Xiao Meiling became very excited about getting married. Far more than her mother did. But the dream was broken so suddenly. When Ms. Niu left, Xiao Liulang got startled and brought himself back, as he knocked at the door. "Fifth cousin, please." He had a lot to ask Xiao Yunduan regarding the two young masters. He had never met such characters at the college, and he had never heard of them before either. But they were so outstanding that they would always draw attention. How did Xiao Yunduan get to know them? Xiao Yunduan stood in front of him as the door was opened. He asked coldly, "What else do you want?" Xiao Liulang could not help but feel a bit timid. But the next second he got a bit furious and asked with displeasure, "Fifth cousin, why do you speak with me like this? I never want to mess around with you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can behave arrogantly in front of me." Xiao Yunduan stared at him coldly. "Xiao Liulang, your behavior was way over the top. They are my friends, not yours. I hope you bear my words in mind, and don't try to pretend as if you are the master of the family and speak some strange words." "You!" Xiao Liulang got so furious that he could not utter a word. Xiao Yunduan shut the door after throwing a cold look at him. Xiao Liulang did not realize what happened after standing at the door for a long while. He clenched his teeth and said, "What are you being so arrogant about? The two young masters did not complain about me. You are just jealous of me having a nice chat with them." Xiao Liulang always spoke well of himself, and he was not even bothered to conceal that. He just felt so ashamed to have his drawback been pointed out. How dare Xiao Yunduan speak to him like this? That was so irritating. Did he think that he was going to turn to him for help? He should wait and see who would be the beggar in the future. Published at 28th of August 2023 12:40 and 41 seconds p.m. Chapter 372. Chapter 372. No, next time if audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 372. No, next time only his cousin had influential friends? He had friends too. He was going to bring his friends home for him to take a good look at. Xiao Liulang left angrily. After dinner, eldest uncle looked at Xiao Yunduan with a confused yet long-sighted look. Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan looked at his father in a composed way, and eldest uncle subconsciously stopped himself. "Dad, if you are going to talk about what happened today, you can stop right here. Brother Xie and Yuezheng are my very important friends, and they can't be troubled. Second aunt keeps asking about their marital status whenever she runs into them. Do you think that is a proper thing to do? The sixth cousin is so arrogant that he thinks highly of himself. They didn't say a thing about it, otherwise it would look really bad on our family. If I pass the examination, there will be more such guests in the future. If they keep messing up like this time, do you think that I can afford to offend every guest? Not everyone is so good-tempered like Brother Xie and Yuezheng. I am letting you know there is no next time. If they continue to act like this, we'll drive them away without any negotiation. Having said that, Shao Yunduan left with Xiao Xian. If his relatives behaved like that all the time, he would lose all his friends and have his reputation ruined. Also, if he passed the examination, the guests might not be here for real friendship, but just for connection and reputation, which should be regarded with even more care. If those relatives kept behaving like this, something bad would definitely happen sooner than later. Shao Yunduan did not care about their behavior in the past, but they kept giving him trouble again and again. Eldest uncle realized that his son was very angry this time, and he felt quite guilty and almost didn't say anything. But when thinking about the whole family, eldest uncle felt perturbed, so he added, Yunduan is getting more and more irritable. Second sister-in-law didn't behave well, but she loves her daughter. Anyways, I will speak with her about it. Liulang is also a learned person, and he was simply sitting there entertaining the guests. Ms. Feng sneered. Ms. Niu is totally shameless. If I had not stopped her, she would have taken Meiling straight to the two young masters. She even suggested that Meiling should take care of them. That sounds so horrible. I felt so embarrassed by her. How could she have done something like that? You have totally spoiled her. Let me tell you, if they ruin my son's business, I will kill them all. Eldest uncle's face changed. How could that be possible? Also, Liulang, honestly speaking, is so stupid and old-fashioned. He can't read or do any work, but he pretends as if he has read a lot. Who would even want to talk with him? Letting him receive guests? He came over without being invited and he drove Yunduan away because he thought he was the owner of the house. I got so disgusted by how he tried to suck up the two young masters. They could not even eat a comfortable dinner. They love talking with you privately, so you can tell them that they should stop being so disgusting. Eldest uncle. He was both angry and sad. How could they behave like this? After the guests were gone, Xiao Xian, Ms. Su and Tao Tao started to make lip balms again. They had little beeswax remaining, and they finished making lip balms within a few days. After this, they were going to resume making lipsticks after the end of next spring, when they harvested honey and got the wax. Xiao Xian was not in a hurry. Rare things were always precious, and she had made it with her own special skills. No one would be able to steal her market even when she ran out of stock. Instead, people would crave for them more than before. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 40 seconds p.m. Chapter 373. Chapter 373. T-Seeds. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 373. T-Seed. She had more than 10,000 liang, and when the lip balms were sold out, she would earn 12,000 liang in total. She had so much savings. Xiao Xian also gave money to her family after selling the lipsticks and lip balms. Ms. Feng received 100 and the others obtained more than 10 liang. Everyone present had made efforts and worked carefully and hard for her. What she needed to do was to teach them how to do the work, so she could let them be on their own. That saved her a lot of trouble, and for that, she offered them good profits. When lipsticks were done, Qi, Tao Tao, Shao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni went into the mountains again, to find the creeping figs. She decided to buy some more land at the Zhang village to plant the creeping figs. But the fruits would not be harvested until autumn. They would need to find some more fruits to open the dessert stores. If the wild-growing creeping figs were not enough, then the opening of the dessert stores would need to be postponed. They could sell other desserts to start with, but the first reactions would not be that striking. The crystal-clear jelly was not only good in appearance and in taste, but also had strong plasticity. It could be paired with crushed nuts, fresh fruits, syrup, milk and many other things. Even Xie Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao had never seen it before. Therefore, the jelly had to be used as the top-selling item for the store. The creeping figs were climbing plants, and they were growing in a large area. Xiao Xian used her superpower and saw a big patch of it. They spent more than 3 days getting all the fruits home from the deep valley. They were all so motivated to get those fruits home because they could be used to produce such excellent dessert. Finally, they had quite a lot in stock. Thinking that the tea trees they had planted should ripen by this point, the whole gang went to pick the seeds of tea together. Xiao Xian was going to store the seeds for the next spring, so she could cultivate the buddings and do the transplantation. She was going to use her superpower to make the trees grow faster, better and healthier, which solved all the problems of transplantation that everyone else worried about. She was going to dig some buds from the mountains for the land, which would need to be expanded. When the planting was done, they could just wait to receive the money. They came to the forest of the golden sprouts. It was not the time for tea harvesting, but the trees grew so well that every leaf seemed to be lush and vibrant. As they approached the tea trees, they could smell the scent that freshened up their mind. Xiao Xian could not help but take a deep breath. The excellent tea leaves were really outstanding. There were many tea seeds falling down in the bush. Xiao Xian ignored those that had not yet ripened on the twigs. The unripe tea seeds could not be used as the real seeds. It was not very easy to pick the right tea seeds from such a messy bush. They had no other tricks except for using their eyes and hands to seek carefully and pick. They needed to be very cautious when they were doing the work, in case they damaged their fingers. Xiao Xian smiled. "We are working so hard today. Let's have a delicious dinner tonight." Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 40 seconds p.m. Chapter 374. Chapter 374. More land. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 374. More land. That cheered up everyone. They laughed and agreed to her proposal heartily. It was never easy to make a table full of dishes, especially when it came to the people who ate a lot. Xiao Xian did not cook every day. Normally it was Ms. Su and Yang Xiaoni who cooked, and Tao Tao helped. Now Ms. Zu's cooking skills had improved a little, mainly because she was willing to put seasonings, and knew how to put various condiments such as oil, salt, sauce and vinegar together. In addition to the vegetables in the yard, there were also dried bamboo shoots, various dried mushrooms, and fish, shrimp, meat, tofu and other delicious ingredients that were cooked over a fast fire, and the taste would be equally good. Xiao Xian had thought that the seeds could be picked within 1 day, but the time was limited, and she had to postpone the work of golden sprouts. It seemed that they needed to work 1 more day to pick the lavender. After around a week, when a new patch ripened, they could come and pick it again. That was very troublesome, and the harvest was full, so Xiao Xian made a calculation and found that there should be at least 20 or 25 kilograms of it. The seeds were raven, plumpy, oily on the surface, looking really good. Xiao Xian could easily feel that what was hidden under the shell was full of liveliness. They did not stay late in the mountains. By the time they went home, the sun was just setting. They gathered the seeds, and after taking a shower, Xiao Xian started to make the dinner. She had already put dried shrimps and dried hairtail in hot water, and now they were ready. She even put some sea cucumbers and abalones in water, but she was going to leave them until tomorrow, since it was very late to make it this evening. Dishes like braised sea cucumber with scallion and braised abalone in soy sauce had been made twice before, and her family loved them. They went into the mountains and brought some things back, including shrimps, hairtails, and 1 rooster. The dishes included roasted shrimp in tomato sauce, refreshing and sweet, and pan-fried octopus, which was tender and delicious. The rooster was made with garlic and green onion as the main condiment, so they had 1 dish made of ginger and spring onion chicken. Ms. Fong had bought 2 chunks of tofu. She cut them, fried them and cooked them with mushrooms. They picked some vegetables from the garden and finally everything was set. The whole family had not eaten dishes made by Xiao Xian in days, so they could not help but eat 1 more bowl of food. The following day, they brought some seeds of lavender home. They were not as many as those of golden sprouts, but there were not 2 less as well. They could do 1 more round of harvesting. Xiao Xian had not expected that they could fill up the 5 mu of the field at 1 go. She had not hired people for this level of project, and they could barely manage it personally, so they would take the amount step by step. They would plant 1 more patch in the following year. Xiao Xian felt a bit guilty when the whole family was helping her diligently. So, she told Shao Yunduan that she would buy some things in the town when he went to the college, like winter clothes and so on. We will go to the agent and buy some more land for the creeping figs. We will plant over dozens of mu. And we will need to find people to open the land in the tea mountains. We can speak with the land officer at the Zhang village. If the villagers are willing to help us, we can hire some from the nearby place so they could also earn some money. Xiao Yunduan nodded and then looked at her. We are not living there, and Uncle Erju is taking care of things for us. We should visit the land officer if we need his help. I agree. Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 39 seconds p.m. Chapter 375. Chapter 375. College. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 375. College. The land officer of the Zhang village was a little greedy, but Xiao Xian did not care much about it. But the premise was that no one should not try to trick her and Xiao Yunduan as if they were fools. They reached an agreement. They would go to the town together on the day when Xiao Yunduan intended to head to Minghua College. Xiao Xian had 2 large bergamots and decided to take them to Mingrentang and give them to manager Qin. Xiao Xian already asked Xiao Yunduan if he was going to give some things to the teachers at college. Xiao Yunduan shook his head and turned her offer down. The 3 teachers at Minghua College were not outstanding in knowledge, and they were not the same when treating others. One person called Mr. Zhou was even worse. He treated those students from a rich family in a friendly manner and even inquired about how they were doing. But he always ignored students like Xiao Yunduan who hailed from the village. Before Xiao Yunduan became the cultivated talent, they did not think that he was promising at all. It was not until he became a cultivated talent and married Xiao Xian, when they started to treat him nicely and passionately for a while. Later, when they realized that the Qiao family never visited him and he did not talk about his relationship with the Qiao family, and that Xiao Xian was just a concubine's daughter, they tried to stay away from him. But for being the cultivated talent, they would even drive him out of the college. The 3 teachers had been living in town and they hung out with rich people sometimes. So, they were quite knowledgeable and were different from normal villagers. They could clearly see how the Qiao family treated Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Xian must be a disgraced daughter of a concubine. Hence, the Qiao family would not like this son-in-law of theirs. Therefore, they would not mingle with Xiao Yunduan. As a result, even Xiao Yunduan treated them like ordinary teachers. They were given some small presents and during festivals, they were given a dozen eggs and 1 or 2 chickens, that was all. Xiao Xian had no idea what was going on at the college, but she followed what her husband told her. As Xiao Xian reached Mingrentang, Manager Qin was extremely cordial to her after not seeing her for a long time. His eyes were sparkling seeing the 2 large golden fruits. He could not help but praise them. Bergamot was one of the best tributes offered to the ancestors of gods and Buddhas. For those who were a little more particular, there must always be a pair of big bergamots served at home. But it was not easy to get the top-grade big bergamots because in the process of growth, bergamot was easy to get scratches, and the bergamot with scratches could only be used to fumigate the house as a decoration or as medicine. Madams and ladies from rich people really liked bergamots. When Xiao Xian offered the present, Manager Qin decided to take them home to his mother, who would get really pleased. He would be very happy when his mother was happy. He could not help but ask Xiao Xian, "Mrs. Xiao, do you have any other similar ones? If yes, please spare some to me and I will buy them at a reasonable price." It was a great thing as presents. Xiao Xian smiled. "You are too late, Manager Qin. It is not easy to get the fruits without scratches. We only had 4 and the other 2 have been given to young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng." Manager Qin was startled. He was very surprised that Xiao Xian was hanging out with the 2 young masters. "Oh, that is a pity. But if you have more in the future, spare some for me too, okay?" Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. "No problem." Published at 28th of August 2023, 12:40 and 38 seconds p.m. Chapter 376. Chapter 376. The Creeping Figs. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 376. The Creeping Figs. Manager Qin laughed and thanked her. He was not going to steal the fruits from young Master Xie and young Master Yuezheng. They had a small chat and after that Xiao Xian went shopping. She went to the cloth shop first, and bought a lot of fabric suitable for cutting clothes in autumn and winter. The ones she had bought in the province were not meant for winters. After that, She paid page boys to deliver them to Mingrentang, which the page boys agreed to. She also bought some skincare products at the cosmetics store. Lipsticks were already very popular, and Xiao Xian overheard some rich ladies and madams talking about lipsticks at the store. The women were greedy for the lipsticks, and they kept urging the manager to see if she could get some samples from the province. Even paying 7 liang for one lipstick was okay for them. Their housekeepers had been to the province many times, but they all failed to buy even one. The manager smiled helplessly. She would very much like to buy the lipsticks which were famous everywhere by now, but it was the third young master of the Yuezheng family who ran the business. Moreover, they always ran out of stock as soon as they were placed on the shelf. Where was the chance for finding spare ones for the outsiders? The lipsticks were precious and extremely short in supply. The manager just could not get the chance to get even one. Xiao Xian was quite surprised. She had not expected that such highly priced lipsticks could be sold in this small town, but the truth was that all women loved to look pretty. Her lipsticks were the only existing products in the whole world, and no one would be able to resist the charm. They still had many spices prepared at home, and those things did not go bad so quickly. She had bought them from the province. She walked around the market and decided to take some pork home. Fresh pork would last a few days under such weather. She bought ribs, pork belly, hind legs, pork knuckles, as well as pork liver, pork belly, spending nearly 300 won at one go. The butcher sold her the meat with an enthusiastic smile and gave her a pig heart as a present. Xiao Xian thanked the butcher with a smile, and began to think about what to cook in her heart. She thought about making stewed pork ribs, deep-fried pork ribs this evening, sweet and sour braised pork the next day, and half of the pork belly would be made of twice-cooked pork and half steamed with noodles. She decided to make stir-fried hind legs and salted pork knuckles for the day after tomorrow. Pork belly, pork liver, and pork heart were all prepared for tonight. After processing the remaining ones, she could fry the hot and sour pork belly, pork heart, and pork liver with pickled vegetables. Ginger slices would be used to remove the strange smell from the meat. Scallops and eels would be added to make it more delicious. She was drooling for pork which she had not eaten in a long time. After delivering the meat back to the pharmacy, Xiao Xian went to the market and bought a few more things. Then she went into a restaurant, ate one bowl of noodles before heading back to Mingrentang, where she waited for Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan met her at the scheduled time. They went to fetch the agent, rented a wagon and headed straight to Zhang village. The agent did not turn down such a huge business deal, though he was very curious about what they wanted to do with so much land. But he knew that he should not ask them about this. The land officer of the Zhang village did not hesitate to sell them the mountain land which was not that valuable anyways. Shao Yunduan expressed that he would like to hire someone to clear up the land, which pleased the land officer as well. He promised that as long as the staff were properly paid, they would work hard and well. The villagers had run out of farm work after the autumn harvest. They could do some extra work and save a little money for the new year. No one would turn such an offer down. Chapter 377. Tea Mountain. After the agreement was reached, Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan went to visit Dinger Zhu and Ms. Zhou. The couple were very pleased to see them, and received them in the main room. Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian had paid a visit to them during the autumn harvest, which was a month ago. Ms. Zhou poured some tea for them and Dinger Zhu talked about what was going on with them these days. Hearing that they were going to open up the barren mountain, Dinger Zhu became serious and attentive. We already spoke with the land officer about this. Uncle Zhu, you can decide regarding who to hire and how to manage it well. It would be best if we can sort out at least 500 mu of tea mountains before the new year. 300 mu of it should be ready for the planting of tea trees. Apart from these lands, there will be another land as large as 100 mu, which would be for other plants. Dinger Zhu nodded constantly. Okay, I will speak with the land officer in the afternoon and take over the job. The tenants are available right now, and with the help from the Zhang village, we can definitely clear through 300 to 500 mu of land. That's good. Xiao Xian smiled. If anyone asks about the salary, we are offering 31 a day and lunch included. The lunch will be meat and vegetable steamed buns or rolls. They could not specify the dishes because there should be at least more than 100 people working together when the project starts, so steamed buns made everything easier. Aunt Zhou, you can make some steamed buns with a few women at the village, and they should be paid 21 a day. You can buy the fillings from town and at least 1/3 of the fillings should be meat. Xiao believed that labor should be well served so that they could be full of energy to work harder. 31 a day was considered to be a high payment. Ding Erju felt concerned on their behalf, so he said, "The salary is too high, and the competition would be fierce. That would be quite troublesome. If it was 15 a day, that would be a relatively average price for those who crave to earn some money, and those who were selected to work for them would not protest. But 31 a day would be really appealing for everyone to come and join them. It would be very difficult to choose whom to hire. And those who could not be hired would definitely complain. After all, 70% of the villagers were surnamed Zhang and Xiao and her husband were outsiders. They just could not be a match against those who were local residents. High payment and one lunch which served meat steamed buns. That would be so tantalizing for anyone." Hearing Ding Erzu's thoughts, Xiao was startled. She had just felt that the work would require a lot of energy, and 31 per day was something within her budget. But Ding Erzu knew more about how those farmers were thinking. Shao Yunduan looked at her gently and smiled. He knew pretty well what his wife was thinking. 31 a day is a bit much. What about 21 plus lunch? But we need to set a rule, like 2 steamed buns with fillings and 2 pure steamed buns, 1 steamed roll for each worker. Those who don't take lunch would get extra pay. The size of steamed buns with fillings can be as big as that available in the market, while the steamed buns and rolls can be larger. It should be enough for 1 adult for lunch. Xiao smiled. Okay, that sounds great. As for the workers, each tenant's family can offer 1 person and we would hire them all. Chapter 378. Hiring. Apart from the tenants, there should be at least 100 households in Zhang village, right? Just see how many of them want to join the project. If everyone wants to be part of it, then we can only divide them into 2 batches, 1 for every other day, and only 1 person is hired from each household. Shao Yunduan added. We only need strong young men, and other people can join if a family doesn't have strong young men. Ding Erzu nodded and said with a smile. Okay, I understand what I should do after hearing your plan. 21 a day with lunch, that is tempting for everyone, except for those who are too lazy to work. The 3 of them talked more in detail, regarding how to separate the groups and exclude those who were lazy at work but active in eating and getting money. Gradually, everything was sorted. Shao Yunduan and Xiao would come to them again after 3 days, when Ding Erzu and the land officer completed the final deal. If all went well, the project could start real soon. Xiao looked at their house and smiled. This house is okay for the moment, but not for the winter. We need to have someone watch over the tea land, and to have grain stored and the creeping figs planted. We will need to have one place for that. When the tea trees are done, we will build a huge house here and both of you can move in. Ding Erzu and Ms. Zhou had been thinking about going into the town and buying some paper to add to the walls of this wooden house. They even thought about saving some money to buy coals and blankets and make some thick winter clothes. But Xiao started to talk about building a house. Xiao had mentioned it once before, but she and Shao Yunduan never mentioned that again, so Ding Erzu and Ms. Zhou did not take it seriously. Maybe they had some other plans and decided to leave this one aside. After all, Xiao and Shao Yunduan did not owe them anything. They needed to solve their problems themselves rather than wait for the new house to be built. Hence, they were both shocked upon hearing what Xiao said. Shao Yunduan added his view as well. It is time to have it built, otherwise it would be inconvenient. Yeah, I want to dig a pool to raise fish and plant lotus roots too. Ding Erzu felt quite embarrassed. All right, then, we will move into the new place, thanks to you again. When we have more money in the future, we will build 2 more rooms. Xiao smiled. Just live here if you want to and we will build the house next to ours, which is very convenient. They had a son and they could not possibly just live in the house which Shao Yunduan and Xiao built. So for a long-term plan, they still needed to build one for themselves. Ding Erzu smiled brightly and nodded. Ms. Zhou was very glad as well. Before the couple left, Ms. Zhou asked Xiao Dear niece-in-law, can I ask my mother to help me with steaming buns? Sure is still too young to go about by himself, and I need someone to watch out for him in case he runs into something unpleasant. Ms. Zhou was a mild person but her mother was not so gentle. Ms. Zhou needed her mother to back her up. If the women who worked took them at will, or their children came to fetch them, or even the children from the village offered the eagerness to fetch the steamed buns, Ms. Zhou would be too timid to say no. Xiao Xian smiled. That is a good idea. I was worried whether you could spare more time and energy into it. It would be good that your mother comes over. The land officer's wife could help as well. Both your mother and the land officer's wife can earn 31 a day and you will be paid monthly, which is not included in this. Chapter 379. Uncaring MS. Zhou let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, I don't work that much and I am still getting paid. Now that I have work to do, I can't get extra payment this time. Xiao Xian laughed. You have helped us a lot. Without your help, we would not have harvested the rice so smoothly. The tenants had no idea who on earth Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were, except that they were from outside the village. But for the couple who watched them doing the harvest, they might not have been honest in their efforts. Some might even have harvested some to their own home first. But during the harvest, there was always someone who was watching them work. Ms. Zhou and Dinger Zhu were both quite embarrassed. That is what we ought to do. After Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan left, Xiao Xian still believed that the payment was quite low. She smiled at Xiao Yunduan. If all goes well after we are done, we can even give the red packets to each laborer. I think 51 should be good enough. What do you think? Xiao Yunduan nodded and said to her, You can spread the news around, so they may work harder for that goal. Xiao Xian's eyes brightened as she chuckled. Yeah, they should be motivated enough not to cause any trouble or allow anyone else to cause trouble. Shortly after Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan were gone, Dinger Zhu went to visit the land officer of the Zhang village. The land officer always believed that Dinger Zhu was Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's relatives, so he treated him very politely. They had a very smooth and happy conversation during the deal. Xiao Xian knew that the local hooligans had some reputation in the village, and the land officer of the local area should be given some extra benefits for containing them. When the land officer got the benefits, Xiao Xian would get him to hire the villagers to work for him so he could be pleased too. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan went back to the town, fetched what they left at Manager Qin I's place and headed home. Bull cart was a bit slow and Xiao Xian smiled. When the new house is built, let's buy a donkey cart for faster traveling. Xiao Yunduan nodded. When the new house was built, they would have a lot of space to put the donkey cart as well. They could not think about buying a wagon, since it was quite difficult to obtain. Even those rich people in town would not be able to afford a horse sometimes. When they went back home, they shared the presents with the whole family. Those presents were of different categories, including clothes, food, and daily necessities. Miss Fong smiled with a sigh. We all have savings, and we can buy what we need ourselves. You don't have to buy us anything. You and Yunduan should save money for future use. Ms. Fong firmly believed that her son would make it to the next level and his studying would cost a lot of money. Xiao Xian smiled. Don't worry, Mom. We barely spend any money, and we have savings as well. Also, we are making a lot of money too, right? Ms. Fong chuckled. True, and that is all because you helped us with it. Miss Su was very delighted. She had been thinking about making winter clothes, either with her own money or the shared savings. But Xiao Xian had brought so many materials home, even cotton. That saved her a lot of money. Young Xiaoni was glad too. She placed the garment on herself, asking her husband if she looked nice. Chapter 380. Unwatchable. Shao Sanlang nodded and kept speaking highly of his wife's good looks. Young Xiaoni felt bashful. Her cheeks were flushed but her eyes were sparkling, and she smiled brightly. Ms. Fong did not look at them while the rest pretended not to have seen the whole episode. The couple had always been like this and the rest of the family was used to it by now. 3 days later, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan went to the Zhang village with the required money. They finalized the deal with Dinger Zhu, Ms. Zhou's mother, land officer and his wife regarding opening the barren land. All the villagers at the Zhang village were glad about this project and almost every household applied to work on it. So they were divided into 2 batches and took turns in doing the labor work. The land officer received a huge red packet and he was highly motivated. He said that he was going to watch over everybody so that nobody would get lazy during the work hours. Hearing that there would be an even bigger red packet after the project was done, the land officer became even more delighted. Xiao Xian smiled. We would need many more laborers for our tea mountains. Work hard and we will hire more people. Those who don't work hard would have to be excluded, and we would hire people from other villages. The land officer nodded. Don't worry, we are all down-to-earth people and we will work hard. I will get rid of those sneaky ones for you. The land officer and his wife felt energized and devoted when he heard that there would be more money to make in the future. The wife was going to be in charge of making steamed buns, and she would be able to take a few more since she was in charge. That was such a great deal that should not be let go of. No one would allow anyone to make trouble about this. Most of the workers were those who needed such temporary tasks. Seeing that Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan were able to afford the land, they suspected that they had some mysterious and powerful supporters behind their back, thus not daring to cause trouble for them. So soon, the work started full-fledgedly at Zhang village. The first morning was a bit chaotic, but at noon everyone queued up and got to eat steamed buns. Not only were they big, but the meaty buns were really full of meat when they took a bite. Everyone finally believed that the owner didn't lie, and the wages must be the same. So they were definitely going to work hard to earn the extra red packets of bonuses. They worked obediently and occasionally. There were a few who got lazy, but before Dinger Zhu and the land officer's son reprimanded them and everyone slowly straightened out. Everything went well. No chaos appeared. Generally speaking, steamed buns were steamed on a temporary stove in front of Ding Erza's house. Needless to say, the 7 working women and their children who came to have fun ate together at noon. Also, the other children came to the stove as well around lunchtime. They were all drooling for the steamed buns by the time they were cooked. Not every household was able to afford to eat steamed buns like these. Xiao Xian wasn't an unscrupulous person. Although the flour used to make steamed buns was not the best, it was still quite good. The authentic flour was steamed in a big steamer, and it gave out a strong fragrance. The land officer's wife did not want to offend the fellow villagers, so she could not do anything about the situation. She could not even drive away people who were queuing up for the steamed buns. Ms. Zhou was not capable of turning them down alone. But Ms. Zhou's mother used a huge basket to hold steamed buns and rolls and gave them to each child until the basket was emptied. Those who failed to get the steamed buns could queue up the next day. Chapter 381. Almost the children left cheerfully after they ate, but those who did not manage to get the buns refused to move. Aunt Zhou, Ms. Zhou's mother, coaxed them away and asked them to come back earlier next time. Some women could not help but complain. But we have so many left, let's just give them one. Aunt Zhou said, the owner is too kind-hearted, but we can't just indulge ourselves. They make money with hard work too. 40 steamed buns for free every day. That is so generous of our owner. How about we not offer any starting from tomorrow, so we all save trouble? The woman said with a smile. No, you are right. Our owner is already generous enough and I should not have said such a thing. If the 40 free steamed buns and rolls were gone because of what she said, many people would blame her for being nosy. Her intention was to show her generosity through others' generosity, but she did not want to ruin what existed right now. The woman regretted so much as not to say such a thing. The land officer's wife could not help but add, Aunt Zhou is right. We need to stick to the rules. Our owner is so generous and kind like no other, we can't just get carried away and offer free food for our children too. We need to be reasonable, since we are being paid well. The others nodded in agreement. Not everyone was able to eat steamed buns throughout the year. But for the owner's agreement, Aunt Zhou would not have done so. If they offered more than they should, they might offend people and get complained about. Maybe all children from the village would hear about it and come to fetch the free steamed buns. What should they do then? Moreover, who would pay for the extra steamed buns? A few days after this happened, Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan came to check on the situation, and Aunt Zhou told them about this. Feeling grateful, Xiao Xian gave Aunt Zhou and the land officer's wife 2 red packets, each of which contained 21. Surprising fortune would always cheer people up. The land officer's wife had understood one thing. If they worked hard, they would always get some bonus. She would have gained nothing extra if she did not interfere, whilst others would take advantage of it. Chao Xian and Shao Yunduan were quite assured in heart, seeing the field clearing project went well. Small problems and some fees could be ignored. They decided not to split hairs on those who worked for them and had everything sorted out smoothly. They could even stop giving the children steamed buns and rolls or drive them away. But that would cause a lot of conflict and dissatisfaction in the near future. If some accident happened, the villagers might offer a helping hand or just stand around watching the show, depending upon their treatment of the villagers. They could not keep asking for help without giving anything in return, which would make them look miserly and wicked. Proper kindness and generosity would make people feel grateful and cherish what they got now. Being kind without asking anything in return often caused trouble. Seeing that everything went well, Chao Xian and Shao Yunduan were totally assured and they came to check things every 5th or 6th day. Chapter 382. Shao Lulang's guest. When they got some time to spare, Chao Xian checked around in the yard and floral field, planning the dessert stores. Tao Tao and Qi offered their help as well. Whether or not the results turned out to be successful, the family did not complain. Instead, they ate up all the failed dishes. Young Xiaoni was especially glad. She was so happy to be able to eat different desserts every day. Chao Xian was thinking about asking Yuezheng Shao to pay attention to a few ingredients, such as sagos, cassavas, and sweet potatoes. The Yuezheng family was involved in vast businesses and they had more information and other resources than she did. Sagos were very useful for desserts. Cassavas could be made into powder for the small balls put in milk tea. Sweet potatoes could be made into many things. Chao Xian tried to use flour to free up some starch, and made taro balls with steamed, mashed taro puree and pumpkin puree. They looked good, but did not have good texture. Seasoned with honey, sweet sugar juice, Chao Xian was not very satisfied with it. They definitely needed cassava's powder. So she was going to suggest Yuezheng Shao to raise some cows to produce milk. But it was not very easy to obtain cows, which might not be able to produce so much milk anyway. There were many small things to deal with if such a store was opened, but the profits would be magnificent as well. Seeing that there were not so many fish remaining in the tank, Chao Xian decided to go to the river to fetch some fish in the afternoon with Qi, Tao Tao Yang Xiaoni and Shao Sanlang. It was already very cold, and they could not possibly go into the water, but they had a fish net that could be used to get some. But by lunchtime, Shao Liulang suddenly arrived with a strange-looking young master. Yang Xiaoni went to open the door and she was very startled seeing the two young men. Shao Liulang looked quite proud. "Fifth cousin, are you here? My friend and I are here for a visit." The young man next to Shao Liulang was wearing a sapphire blue satin gown with a cross collar, and his hair was tied high. He was about 22 or 23 years old. He was tall and thin with fair skin, but his face was a bit long, and his eyes were cloudy, giving people a rather frivolous and indecent feeling. He was very arrogant. He did not like this place, nor did he like Shao Liulang. But Shao Liulang seemed to suck up to him constantly these days and invited him to his home multiple times. He turned the guy down enough times, but he was feeling bored at the moment, so he nodded and agreed to come. The moment the door was opened and the young master saw Yang Xiaoni, his eyes started sparkling. He straightened his back, trying to look as if he were a real gentleman who behaved gracefully. However, a pretentious man who had a terrible appearance just looked ridiculous when he tried to act like a gentleman. Yuezheng Shao had met real young masters like Jingrong and Yuezheng Shao, so when she saw someone like this in front of her, she laughed. The way he looked at her made Yang Xiaoni feel quite disgusted. Yang Xiaoni was a very sensitive woman and figured out that this was not a good man at all. But this seemingly elegant man smiled at Yang Xiaoni, who got startled and took a few steps backwards. The young master laughed even more proudly seeing her behavior. He thought that Yang Xiaoni was just feeling shy. Yang Xiaoni turned around and left directly, ignoring Shao Liulang completely. Chapter 383. Proud. The young master smiled even more proudly when he saw Yang Xiaoni's retreating figure. Shao Liulang frowned but then smiled at the young master. "She is just a countryside woman who doesn't know how to behave. Don't get angry, okay?" Young Master Zhao was not mad. Instead, he looked sleazy and laughed. Who is that? Xiao Liulang had always been trying to suck up to young Master Zhao, who never spoke to him of his own accord. Hearing his question, Xiao Liulang said, "My cousin's wife." He could not help but complain. She is from the Yang family. Her brother and sister-in-law are such horrible people. Our family should not have married someone like this, but my cousin fell for her, so he insisted on marrying her, no matter what. Xiao Liulang shook his head and said disdainfully, "My cousin is so simple-minded, he just likes her look, not anything else about her, so stupid." Young Master Zhao laughed as he thought of Yang Xiao's looks. He smiled. This girl did look very pretty, and it was quite normal that she could fascinate some men. But what a pity that she married a countryside man. It was like putting a beautiful flower upon cow dung. Hearing Xiao Liulang coming in, Ms. Fong came out of the room and frowned at him. "What are you doing here? And who is this man?" Ms. Fong glanced at young Master Zhao and felt disgusted inwardly. This man looked so pretentious. She was experienced enough to understand immediately what young Master Zhao was like. Xiao Liulang looked very proud. Young Master Zhao is the second young master of Master Zhao in the city, my fellow classmate at the college. He is here visiting me, and we came over to talk to my fifth cousin. Xiao Liulang looked so proud, as if he were showing off. Look how generous he was to have brought his friend with him. He was sharing his friend network with Xiao Yunduan. Ms. Fong did not get what Xiao Liulang meant. She did not like this young Master Zhao, but they were here after all, so she could not drive them away. She asked Qi to fetch Xiao Yunduan. She was thinking about speaking with Yundan not to talk with this man too much because he looked absolutely ill-mannered. Xiao Yunduan was reading in the room, and Qiao Xian, Tao Tao were in the yard, working. Hearing the sound of door knocking, Xiao Yunduan walked and was surprised to see young Master Zhao. He knew this man for sure, the younger son of Master Zhao, and Zhao Ming's brother. Zhao Guanghua was studying at a college in the province and did not come back until the beginning of the year. News spread that he came back home because he had a fight at a brothel with someone, and he got so humiliated that he just could not face anyone there anymore. He was expelled from the college and was forced to return home. So here he was. He was a very arrogant man. Just because he studied at a college in the province and had no one with the same background in this place, he believed that he was the best and the only worthy one around. Chapter 384. Evil plan. The Zhao family was one of the richest families in the local area, and many people were always trying to suck up to them. But Xiao Yunduan was not one of those. In his opinion, Zhao Guanghua's appearance surprised him but did not please him. On the other hand, Xiao Liulang was feeling quite proud. Brother Zhao is here to visit me, so I am showing around. Xiao Yunduan said inside his heart, "Thank you very much, damn." He did not intend to receive Zhao Guanghua at his home. He was not a well-mannered man, considering he had a fight with someone else for some woman at the brothel. Most importantly, he did not want him to see Qiao Xian and Tao Tao. Xiao Yunduan greeted politely and said, "We have many people at home, sixth cousin. We can have a chat at your home." "I would like to have a chat at your place, brother Xiao." Zhao Guanghua still dreamt of meeting young Xiaoni again. If he could stay, he might see her again. He did not intend to do anything else right now, but he was always attracted to beautiful women. As he thought about how favorable he might look compared to the farmer she married, he believed that young Xiaoni was definitely going to love him deeply, and regret having gotten married so early. In this way, he would feel really satisfied and proud. If he could at least speak with young Xiaoni, then he would be content and feel a little smug. Xiao Liulang also intended to go home, but hearing what Zhao said, he replied, "We can definitely sit at your home to chat. Cousin, you would be very happy, right?" Xiao Yunduan frowned. "We have no good tea to serve young Master Zhao. So, please young Master Zhao this way." Xiao Yunduan held his cousin's arm and walked outside. When he and Xiao Liulang both left, that man should not stay as well, right? "Hey you!" Xiao Liulang, who had intended to protest, got startled seeing Xiao Yunduan's cold look. He was dragged away wordlessly. As they walked out of the yard, Xiao Yunduan glanced back at Zhao Guanghua and said, "Please, hurry up, young Master Zhao." He did not even wait for him to join him. Zhao Guanghua had no choice but to follow. He felt quite annoyed not to have been able to flirt with the beautiful girl he had drooled at. For now, he had no choice but to leave. He just did not have the reason to stay here, when the owner was gone. Zhao Guanghua glanced at Xiao Yunduan and asked ironically, "Yunduan, you are not trying to drive me away from your house, right?" "Of course not." Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows and said peacefully, "My home is quite small, and we have no good tea. I just don't want young Master Zhao to suffer from the inconvenience, thus turning you away." "Is that so?" Zhao Guanghua could not believe that. "Of course yes." Xiao Liulang was cursing Xiao Yunduan inwardly but had to defend him. "Brother Zhao, honored guests like you always light up someone's home, and my cousin wishes that you could be here, but he is quite stubborn, so just drop the idea." Zhao Guanghua thought for a while. He did not think that there would be anyone who would refuse to hang out with him, given his background. He might have overthought about this. He smiled. "Oh, okay, my bad. It is okay without tea. I am not that particular. We can do that next time, okay?" Chapter 385. Not to his home. Xiao Liulang kept saying yes, but sneaked a look at Xiao Yunduan. He felt quite sour inwardly. He had tried his best to get young Master Zhao to his home, but the esteemed guest became more interested in Xiao Yunduan instead. That was really annoying. Xiao Yunduan could not help but feel a bit worried. He could not understand Zhao Guanghua's purpose of trying to befriend him and wanting to visit his home. Then he thought of how his sister Zhao Ming was hanging out with Qiao Wei, and he suspected that he might be here digging around seeing what happened to Qiao Wei. The elder Miss Qiao was so annoying. The more Xiao Yunduan thought about this, the more he believed that it was the truth. Xiao Yunduan did not trust him that he was here to visit his cousin. So, he was not going to let him get close to his own home. He had accompanied Qiao Xian to the Qiao mansion, and he knew that Qiao Xian pretended to be very obedient and quiet, honest in front of the family. She didn't even get mad even when she was laughed at. If Zhao Guanghua saw how bright and stunning she looked, he might leak that news. So, Xiao Yunduan sped up. At the third section of the family, Ms. Ma had just killed a chicken and was getting ready to cook. Seeing Xiao Yunduan coming over, she got very displeased, but she did not dare to say anything and just glanced at him. Xiao Yunduan had not noticed this since he was thinking about Qiao Xian all the time. Xiao Inlang tried his best to suck unto Zhao Guangna, who did not bother to respond that often, while Xiao Yunduan was mostly silent. The three of them were killing time in this way. Xiao Yunduan had intended to leave before lunch, but he was worried that Zhao Guanghua would move to his home with an excuse of saying goodbye, so he stayed. Ms. Ma could not stand it any more and forced a false smile. "Yunduan, aren't you going back for lunch?" Xiao Yunduan smiled. "Sorry that I have to trouble you today, Ms. Ma." Xiao Liulang did eat at the first section of the family's home the other day, and he still remembered the amazing food. Also, he just could not drive away Xiao Yunduan at this point. So, he stopped Ms. Ma directly. Ms. Ma had always adored this precious son of hers, so she said nothing more even though she was annoyed. She just left with a twisted face. Soon the dishes were served. Ms. Ma was quite terrible at cooking. The chicken was so roughly made. Okay looking, but was the only properly prepared dish. The other two vegetable dishes did not have any oil. Xiao Yunduan stopped after moving the chopstick symbolically. He could not eat anything like this after trying the dishes made by Qiao Xian. Zhao Guanghua was the same too. He frowned after trying one bite, and could not stand the taste anymore. He was young Master Zhao, and he did not care about this badly cooked chicken. Only Xiao Liulang kept eating happily. He even told Zhao Guanghua to feel at home, without noticing that Zhao Guanghua already dropped the chopsticks. Zhao Guanghua glanced at him, twisted his lip corners and felt disdainful. No one would come to this person's home for a visit if he had not been bored. He did not deserve his visit. Zhao Guanghua was more interested in Xiao Yunduan, and waited for him to speak with him. Xiao Yunduan was, however, silent all the time, and Zhao Guanghua could not help but initiate the conversation. Xiao Yunduan nodded and replied briefly without saying anything more. Chapter 386. jealous Zhao Guanghua felt even more bored. These two cousins were quite funny. One was overly passionate to flatter him. The other was completely silent. He never would have believed that Xiao Yunduan was trying to ignore him. He was young Master Zhao. Feeling bored, Zhao Guanghua left the place after the meal. He was out for fun, and if he could not find it, there was no point in being here any longer. He could not find anything interesting here at all. Xiao Liulang just could not keep him. Zhao Guanghua decided not to speak with Xiao Liulang anymore, but he thought of Yang Xiaoni and intended to have some conversation with her in the future. Xiao Yunduan let out a sigh of relief when that man was gone. He hoped that this man would never come back. Xiao Liulang felt quite angry. Fifth cousin, you have behaved terribly. Brother Zhao doesn't come to us often, and I let you eat with him. Why did you show him a cold face? Xiao Liulang believed that it was Xiao Yunduan who gave Zhao Guanghua the cold shoulder, because of which he left so quickly. Xiao Yunduan was not bothered to talk about this. He reminded him. I believe that you know why Zhao Guanghua came back home from the province's college? He is so frivolous and arrogant. Not a very good person to befriend. You better stay away from him. Xiao Liulang was not bothered to hear these words of his. That is just a rumor. Why do you choose to believe it? I like Brother Zhao. He is friendly, warm, and not at all arrogant. You must be jealous of me, right? That is your problem. You aren't the only person who can hang out with rich young masters. I can too. Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan did not like to teach anyone. He was not Xiao Liulang's father, and he already told him what he should hear. But now he was being accused of being jealous. Then what was the point of continuing? There was no need to say anything more. Whatever you like. Xiao Yunduan left from there directly. Seeing his retreating figure, Xiao Liulang just did not know what to do. How dare he? He must be jealous of me. Yes. As he thought about this, Xiao Liulang could not help but feel happy that he finally befriended a rich person. The plan of building a new house at the first section of the family was finally going to be realized. They wanted to build a house soon so they could move in before the new year. Eldest uncle suggested adding 2 new rooms next to what they had now. But the family believed that they should demolish the present structure and build a new one. Feeling alone, elder uncle got very angry. We don't have the money. Chao Xian smiled and said proudly, Dad, money is not the issue. That made the eldest uncle feel even worse. That is your money, not the family's money. Chao Xian felt quite surprised. Her father-in-law was not greedy at all. She was offering to share her money with the family, and everyone else should be glad about it. In fact, other people might be worried that she would regret that. Chao Xian felt a bit complicated at heart, not knowing what to say about him. Dad, it is the same thing. What matters is to live a happy and cozy life, right? Also, my husband will take care when he becomes a promising man. 1 a.m. just aung trusania 01 time roar you. Or, my news Dana can give CNE money back to me later. The others nodded in agreement. Anyways, everyone except for him knew that it was Ms. Fong who was putting in the money for the new house, not Chao Xian. Chapter 387. Speechless, but they decided not to say anything about it. After all, they wanted to live a peaceful life, rather than get bothered by unnecessary trouble that ruined their mood. Eldest uncle was speechless. Whatever you like. Ms. Fong struck the table resolutely. Done. However, when the old house was demolished and a new plan was made, they needed to find a place to live temporarily. Well, they could have borrowed some empty place from the second and the third section of the family, but they would never let it happen. They did not want to be taken advantage of by their relatives. Apart from eldest uncle, no one from the first section of the family would be interested in sharing a place with the second and third section of the family. In the end, Ms. Fong went to speak with the land officer and the clan tribe, so the whole family decided to have a temporary place in the empty house next to the ancestral hall. They could carry all the stuff and luggage there. A temporary hut could be built as the kitchen. Hearing that the first section wanted to build a new house, the whole village was shocked. The first section of the family has really flourished. They are building a new house. Yeah, where did they get that money from? But they have more and more people moving in, and they need to have new places for those upcoming grandchildren. It is more than building 2 extra rooms. They are building a completely new one. And they even bought a lot of land around the house. How big will that house be? That is not your concern. They have got a very rich daughter-in-law. 26 sets of dowry must have had a lot of gold and silver. Enough for the new house. They were talking, full of envy and yearning. The second and third section of the family never expected that the first section of the family would start to build a new house. They could not help but come to their door, trying to tell them that the old house was still practical to live in, and only 2 extra rooms were enough, and that there was no need to demolish all and build a new one. Obviously, Ms. Fong ignored their suggestion. When they learned that the first section of the family even bought 2 mu of land around the house in addition, they could not stand it anymore. Second uncle said, "Eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law, how big will your house be? Why did you buy the land around the house? Do you have this much money?" Ms. Niu felt so sour. "If you can make money, please let us know about it too. We need a new house as well." Ms. Fong smiled and ignored them. They were in no position to tell her family what they should do. Eldest uncle could not reach his hand into Chao Xian's money, and he could not make any decision regarding house building. So when his brothers came and asked him about it, he had no choice but to say that it was because the old house was too small for them to live in, and that they were doing this for their grandchildren's sake. When the second and third section of the family asked about how they made money, he stopped himself from saying anything further. He did not dare to tell them that Chao Xian was paying half of the amount and the other half was earned through selling valuable things. He did not want his brothers to blame him. But the second uncle found his silence even more suspicious. They believed that he must be hiding something, so they were not very happy when leaving the house. However, the house to be built by the first section of the family not only included more than 2 mu of land, but also covered the yard of the neighbor's house, a small vegetable garden and a small piece of open space around the neighbor's place, which came up to a total of more than 4 mu. Chapter 388. Shocked that would make it 8 mu in total, including the new house to be built. Then, including the 12 mu of Chao Xian's garden, there would be 20 mu in total. That was 20 mu of land in total. The first section of the family would become the most wealthy family in the whole village. Well, the reason why the first section of the family was able to build this big house was originally because of the second and third section of the family. When the second and third section of the family divided the old house of the Shao family, they added some small houses to it. In this way, the first section of the family did not have any place to live. Hence, eldest uncle found an empty place at the boundary of the village, very remote and leaving a lot of empty space for what they could have now. The whole village was really shocked and they all got so excited. Honestly, when the neighbors were moving, they looked so happy. So, the first section of the family must have given them a high price. Otherwise, who would be willing to sell the old house to outsiders and find an empty place outside the village to build new houses? However, the family was tight-lipped. They did not spill out a thing. They did utter a figure when forced, but no one believed that. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma felt so annoyed and hurt. They believed that the first section of the family was bullying them. Everyone was talking about the first section of the family building a new house, and wondered how much money it would cost for them to build. Some irritable people instigated them again and again, asking Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, "Your houses are very small too. Why don't you think about building a new one too? Yeah, your eldest brother and eldest sister-in-law have been taking care of you all this time, and they should share some of what they have got, right? They are so rich, and they should help you." Both their faces turned red. Ms. Fong was not going to help them with money. Not at all. The most annoying person was Ms. Chao, who kept taking Ms. Fang's side, because of which Ms. Fong started to ignore them. But with little hope in their hearts, the second and third section of the family all rushed to the first section of the family. "Eldest brother, Liulang is getting married in the new year and we don't have a new house for him. We need to build one room. What about sharing some of what you have left behind with us?" "Yeah, eldest brother, Liulang is your nephew, the child of the Shao family. Getting married is a huge thing and you must help us." Ms. Niu said this and glanced at Ms. Fong, who seemed to hear nothing and kept working on the sole of her shoes. Ms. Fong ignored them. They could say whatever they wanted. She was not interested in anything they had to suggest. Dalong did not know what to say, so he left. Shao Sanlang and Shao Yunduan, Chao Xian and Ms. Su were all there. They wanted to watch the show, and also did not want Ms. Fong to be bullied. Third uncle also joined in and tried to convince the eldest uncle. Third uncle thought that if his eldest brother helped the second section of the family, he would help the third section of the family as well. Young Xiaoni was shocked. No wonder Yang Liang and Ms. Tian could not cause any trouble here. Her mother-in-law knew exactly how to deal with the situation. Sweat ran alongside eldest uncle's forehead as he staggered. Ms. Fong, I don't think that building one more room would cost that much. What about? If it doesn't cost that much, they can build it themselves. Ms. Fong sneered. Chapter 389. Shockingly thick-cheeked. You are old enough to have so many grandchildren and you still forced your old brother to pay you for your new house? How shameless you are. Second uncle and third uncle felt their cheeks burning. The words spoken by Ms. Fong were true and heart-wrenching. The children of the first section of the family glanced at them, making them feel embarrassed. But that was nothing compared to their jealousy and resentment. So what? Their eldest brother had been taking care of them for so many years, and there was no point in leaving them behind when they were living a happy life. Eldest sister-in-law. You are wrong. Eldest brother is capable now and he should take care of us brothers. We were born by the same parents, and we should all live a happy life together, right? The children were all speechless. Sure, but they needed to create a happy life themselves. They were seeking advantage of them but still trying to make themselves sound as if they were being reasonable and righteous. Ms. Fong smiled. What about you taking your eldest brother to your home, so he can work for you and all the money he earns can be yours? All you need to do is to find him a place to live and feed him 3 meals a day. How does that sound? Second uncle and the others from the family were all stuck with words. Eldest uncle got so embarrassed as well. What are you talking about? I am speaking the truth. Look, in this way you can take care of your brothers so they can live a good life too. How does that sound? Second uncle and his people got furious. They did not want eldest uncle. They needed Xiao Xian's dowry. They stubbornly believed that the first section of the family was spending Xiao Xian's dowry, rather than assume that the first section of the family was earning their own money. Before they could respond, Ms. Fong smiled at eldest uncle. Look, your brothers dislike you. They don't want you to be there. Eldest uncle, third uncle said. Elder sister-in-law, stop joking around. We will be laughed at if that happens for real. You are afraid of being laughed at? How surprising. That was the end of the conversation. Shao Sanlang suddenly said, what about us building a house together? We have so much land, right? When the house is built, we can all live together and get to know each other better. Ms. Moss' eyes sparkled as she nodded. Yeah, that sounds great. Eldest brother. We are all a family. Yeah, we have a lot of space, right? The children of the first section were all shocked. These people were so shameless. So, they wanted to wait until the house was done before moving in with them? The second and third section of the family got so glad that they all started to discuss when to move in. Eldest uncle was stuck with words. But Ms. Fong could not stand that anymore. She put down her sawls and pushed Ms. Niu out. Just get out of this place. What are you dreaming about? You move in when we build a new house? You are so shameless. Then she cursed at Xiao Liulang. You can stop going to school. Your head is full of shit. All you can do is to take advantage of people but can come up with nothing new yourself. Just come back to be a farmer instead. You will have nothing to live on in the future. Ms. Ma got very annoyed as she screamed. My son is definitely going to become an officer soon. What are you talking about? Ms. Fong said coldly. Oh, then you can wait until he becomes one. Get out of here. Chao Xian and Yang Xiaoni were keeping Ms. Fong company as they watched the opponents getting thrashed. They could not do anything about the elders directly, but if the elders gave Ms. Fong a push, they were definitely going to teach them a lesson. Chapter 390. Tore off MS. Sue hesitated but then backed her up as well. When Ms. Fong drove them out, Ms. Ma said angrily, You angry bitch, so unbelievable. Ms. Fong smiled. If I am so unbelievable, you can stop talking with us and not come to my home. Third uncle. Eldest brother. Why didn't you talk? Eldest uncle felt dizzy. His head was buzzing. He felt rather messed up. He was very sad about how such a family could become like this. He really wanted the whole family to live in harmony, but it never was in harmony. Ms. Fong argued with him fiercely, and the whole family disliked him. Now even his brothers disliked him. He had never been treated well. Xiao Liulang was very angry by what Ms. Fong said as well. Or that was because he had been shamed by Ms. Fong. He could lie to himself or others. People like Ms. Ma and third uncle who trusted him blindly. He could even be stuck inside his fantasy. Yet he knew pretty well what he was like at the college. During the examination, he couldn't answer any of those topics, and he just wished that he could have some luck to pass the examination. He waited 1 year after another, hoping that he could answer some of the topics on paper next year. But Ms. Fong tore off the fantasy ruthlessly and he felt seen through. You should not look down upon me. Fifth cousin is nothing more than a cultivated talent, and you never know what is going to happen in the future. Ms. Fong replied. All right then, you can make a fortune and be an officer if you want. Don't worry about what we are doing in our family. Xiao Liulang. After driving them out, Ms. Fong said to her children, Have you spoken with the workers? When do we start? Xiao Yunduan responded quickly. We will tear down the house the day after tomorrow. Good. Ms. Fong smiled. Just hurry up and remove what we need to remove. We are not living here anymore. She glanced at this familiar-looking yard and house, sighing emotionally. I have lived here for so long and I don't feel like leaving. Chao Xian smiled. Mom, when we move into the new house, you will definitely love it. We are going to use the best materials and the house should be intact even in a dozen years. Ms. Fong smiled. That is great. They spent the next 2 days moving stuff to the ancestral hall, and it was very messy at home. They needed to hurry up with moving, since the demolition started the day after tomorrow. They all went down to doing their own tasks. Ms. Fong glanced at eldest uncle. Don't blame me for pushing them. They are just so annoying. Must we feed them all? Liulang is so stupid as to suggest that idea. He has read nothing in all these years. Eldest uncle was speechless. He was generous towards his brothers, but he could not counter his wife about what he had just heard. But Liulang is getting married. So what? Ms. Fong sneered. He has his own parents. We never turned to them for help when our sons got married. Eldest uncle, soon, the process of tearing down the house and building the foundation of the new house of the first section of the family started. They did not lack any money, so they started to hire people and buy material quickly. All was going forward smoothly. That was a huge land and the whole family had already made an elaborate plan. There was a front yard, main house and backyard. The main house was a big place with 5 bays and 2 entrances. It was 2 stories high. The upper floor was going to be used to stack things and store grain and other harvested crops. Chapter 391. Work started. The east and west wing rooms were all built to be spacious, with a 3-bay pattern. Behind the 2 wing rooms, there were 2 small courtyards. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian would live there. Xiao Yunduan needed to study, so he chose a quieter place. Xiao Dalong, Xiao Sanlang and Xiao Xiaoqi had rooms of their own, whilst Xiao Taotao and Ms. Fong shared the main room. According to the blueprint given by the first section of the family, the construction team was in full swing on the day of construction, and more than half of the villagers came to watch the excitement. But no one from the second or the third section of the family showed up. Obviously, they were still very annoyed. Ms. Fong did not care. She pretended as if her mood was not at all affected. They did not even care what the eldest uncle was thinking at the moment. Xiao Xian and her team went into the mountains again, when everyone was so busy. Xiao Xian was thinking about the golden sprouts and lavender tea leaves. She had many tea seeds at home last time, but they were not enough. Many seeds were not mature enough and they needed to revisit that place. They went into the mountains for 5 days in a row. On the first day, they picked tea seeds, and then they started to seek and pick the creeping figs as well as mushrooms. The courtyard they were going to live in henceforth was large enough to sun-dry those things. When seeds were taken from the creeping figs, they were sun-dried in the sun and were put in the large bamboo pan. In the meanwhile, they dug more than 20 to 25 kilograms of lilies and dates. There were still many persimmons and wild chestnuts in the mountains, but they had not yet reached the ripe season, and they had to wait for a while before they turned delicious. Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan worked for a few days and soon after, visited the Zhang village again. The project of opening the land at the Zhang village was almost done. The couple was very satisfied by the effect. This was for planting tea trees, not crops. As long as the large and small tree stumps were dug up, it would not matter if the weeds were not cleared. They needed to make a lot of effort in removing the weeds in the first 2 days. Then it will slowly fall in place. By the time the house was built, the opening of the land project would almost come to an end. At that time, they could start to build the side yards. Building a house was quick. It was much faster and more convenient to lay the foundation and start laying bricks than earth ramming. Building a house would take about 4 days. Ms. Fong saw with her own eyes that a tall, magnificent, and spacious main house was built. She felt extremely happy. The main room was larger, and when that was done, the other rooms would be constructed even faster. After all the rooms were done, they could build the entire large yard. Then the small yards would be divided, along with the utility rooms. They would build sheds for raising chickens and ducks, lay floor tiles, repair drinking pools. In this way, they would be able to finish the work within 1 month or so. Then they would install doors and windows and have the requisite furniture made. They were definitely going to move in before the new year. The other sections of the family were so jealous and furious. After they were driven out the other day, they were secretly paying attention to how fast the new house was built. Ms. Niu felt very sour inside her heart, seeing the house getting ready little by little. She turned to look at second uncle. We can build a new house too. Xilang needs some space to get married. We need it to look good for him. Second uncle felt quite annoyed too as he said, yes, we will build one on our empty space, not with their help. We are going to get a new house too. True. Only then did Ms. Niu feel slightly better. She was getting a new house too. Chapter 392. Suspicion. The second section of the family also started to hire people to build the house. Originally, they were thinking of borrowing some materials such as bricks, stones, and gravel from the first section of the family. But Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian had long been on guard against them. The purchase of these things was contracted to the foreman who built the house, and the foreman was responsible for the purchase. All Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian did was to examine the quality and sign, confirming the source of the material on each paper. The foreman would gain some profits from it too. Most people in this era were quite practical. They took money and worked hard. Also, they barely had a chance to fabricate anything. For example, the number of black bricks bought could not be fabricated. They used solid woods, not composite lumber. With the foreman who was in charge, the first section of the family saved themselves a lot of trouble. What they needed was to get everything examined well but not get worried about anything else. But Ms. Niu and second uncle did not know about this. They tried to carry the black bricks away and said resolutely, "This is my eldest brother's home, and I can borrow a few as his brother. I can repay them later. You are an outsider and this matter has nothing to do with you. You are just a laborer. What are you stopping me for?" But the foreman lectured them and explained the details with a cold face, driving them away. He had bought everything with his money, and if Ms. Niu carried them away, he would need to make the compensation himself. They had not expected that the first section of the family had done the preparation in this way, thus getting even more annoyed. The first section of the family has spent so much money in hiring people. How much is it? They haven't lent us anything, but they can waste the money on this. Ms. Zhang was most furious. The second section of the family did not offer to build a new house for her when she got married. But now Xilang was getting married and he would get a new house. She was not worse than anyone else as a daughter-in-law. Why was she so badly treated? She did not dare to complain about IAT in front of Ms. Niu but cried badly in front of Shao Erlang behind their backs. Shao Erlang had not felt that anything was wrong with it because he felt happy that his family was getting a new house. But hearing her tearful complaints, he could not help but feel annoyed and displeased. He could not help but mention this to second uncle that he needed one more room too because his children were growing up and they would have no place to live in later on. Second uncle and Ms. Niu, who were still annoyed by not being able to get anything from the first section of the family, lectured Shao Erlang on hearing what he said. One room was already so difficult for them. How could they afford two? They would talk about building new ones in the future. Ms. Niu was sure that it was Ms. Zhang who would have mentioned it. So she lectured her and gave her a hard time for a few days in a row. Ms. Zhang felt so upset that she cribbed about Ms. Niu and second uncle as well as the first section of the family. But for the stingy first section of the family, nothing like this would have happened. On the other hand, the first section of the family had no idea what was going on with the second section of the family. Despite shifting to a new room, Shao Yunduan was still reading, memorizing books most of the time, whilst Xiao Xian took a break and went into the mountains again. Shao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni kept her company on some occasions. Xiao Xian and her team did not go into the deep section of mountains every time. There were many mushrooms in the forests as well. They could see the creeping figs every now and then, and she was able to find them easily. There were many wild fruits in the mountains too, ripe with a sweet and sour taste. There were a lot of fun things in the mountains. Chapter 393. Updated Space. Xiao Xian was thinking that Yuezheng Shao might send his men to fetch the last batch of lip balms, and he sure did. It was Chu Shan who came over. Chu Shan greeted her and gave her a present, as well as a letter written by Yuezheng Shao. What surprised Xiao Xian was that the present Yuezheng Shao sent for her was a pot with 5 ginseng. Yuezheng Shao had just written to his elder brother who was called Yuezheng Hong, who believed that the whole thing was very troublesome. But his younger brother rarely asked him for anything, so he could not help but feel like helping him, so he did that in the end. Ginsengs without being processed would get rotten after a long while. So Yuezheng Hong made a lot of efforts after getting 5 of them, put them in 2 pots and finally transplanted them into 1 pot. When the pot arrived, the ginseng was dying. Yuezheng Shao was worried that it would be gone within a few days, so he asked Chu Shan to have it delivered to Xiao Xian as soon as possible. Xiao Xian thanked him sincerely and carried the pot into the garden with Xiao Tao Tao. They could not just disappear in her space. They needed to be planted in the yard. After a while, she could tell others in a seemingly casual way that the 5 pieces of ginseng were dead or gone. Then her work would be done. It was her stuff and Ms. Fong would not say anything about it, let alone others. She was the only one who had the key to the garden, and she could easily conceal her secret if she wanted to. She drove away Tao Tao and put the 5 ginseng into her space. The ginseng, which were on the verge of dying, started turning better when moved to space. Xiao Xian felt that with her heart. When the 5 ginseng were planted in the soil, the space became even more lively and vital. It was autumn, and everything naturally withered. Many plants had stopped growing, and some had become bare. Xiao Xian's superpower was affected by the seasons, and it was not as active as in spring and summer. But the space had not been so lively for a long while. She felt much more energetic when the ginseng were in the soil. Xiao Xian came out when she felt better, after feeling what was inside her head. She believed that if she planted some more precious plants in her space, the space would turn tremendously different. That was to say, the accumulation of quantitative changes to a certain extent would lead to qualitative changes. That made Xiao Xian very excited. She also kept telling herself not to get overly worried about it. The environment she lived in was still too remote and closed, and precious and rare plants were not easy to come by. Sometimes it was all about chances. Yuezheng Shao was quite reliable and he could be entrusted to find something good. Also, they were building a new house and she was going to need some more plants. She was definitely going to ask Yuezheng Shao to find those new precious plants for her. She only needed the rare varieties, such as orchids like ghost orchids, crane tops, and lotus petals, peonies such as Yao Huangwizi, plum blossoms such as green plums, dead branch plums, camellias such as 18 bachelors, hentiango, chidan, etc. She wanted to get them with the thought that if the space accepted other flowers and trees, as long as they were rare enough, the space would accept them all. She was thinking about how to get these rare plants. Chapter 394. Into province, these precious flowers and trees could only be obtained by famous and wealthy families. There were very few transactions of these kinds in the flower and tree market. After all, ordinary people could not afford these things. Only rich and powerful families could spend a lot of money to buy them and carefully cultivate them. Money was not the initial condition. It was just a method to get through. The atmosphere seemed a bit strange as she went home. Qiao Xian turned to look at Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan smiled. I was just about to fetch you. Brother Yuezheng has invited us to have a gathering of literature in the province after 3 days. Do you want to join us? Qiao Xian's eyes sparkled. Of course. She could hopefully find precious flowers, shrubs and trees there. She would be too stupid to refuse the invitation. Of course. Qiao Xian nodded as she smiled. Young Master Yuezheng mentioned that the gathering should be of great importance. You should not miss it. Shao Yunduan nodded. That is exactly what I think. Ms. Fong and the others in the family nodded in agreement. Qiao Xian was going to keep him company. Chu Shan smiled. Then, please get your luggage ready tonight, so we can leave tomorrow morning. Shao Yunduan nodded happily. This way, Chu Shan and the coachman spent their first night at the first section of the family. They slept on the floor of Xiao Zioqi's room. Ms. Fong asked Xiao Xiaoqi and Tao Tao to follow them to the province since there was nothing much going on in the family. Shao Yunduan was hesitant about this. Living as a large family next to the ancestral hall was not as convenient as living at home. There was still farm work to do every day, and the house was being built. Somebody had to go see it a few times. If half of the family was gone, they were running out of helping hands in the family. What if the other sections of the family caused trouble at the time? He was worried that his mother would run into a problem when he and Qiao Xian were absent. Miss Fong seemed to have seen through his concern, and she smiled. Don't worry, just do what you need to do. I am not bullied easily, and I have Sanlang and Ms. Yong with me here. Dalong was too honest to fight back, especially when Ms. Fong and eldest uncle were in an argument. But if Ms. Fong was bullied, he would definitely step forward. Ms. Su was not a good helper, but if she forced her to help her as a mother-in-law, she would not refuse to do so. Xiao Sanlang and Yang Xiaoni were with her and they always took her side. So, even if Shao Yunduan and the others were away for a while, it would be fine. Shao Yunduan agreed and nodded at the proposal. Early the next day, Qiao Xian, Shao Yunduan, Qi and Tao Tao left with Chu Shan and the coachman. After breakfast, Ms. Su, Yang Xiaoni were doing housework, whilst Ms. Fong was taking care of her grandchildren as Xiao Dalong and his brother went to check around the new house before heading to the mountains for wood chopping. It was getting cold soon and they needed to store as much wood as possible, enough for the winter and the spring. Wood was not easily obtained when it rained too much in spring. Ms. Fong looked and saw Xiao Liulang in front of him. Oh, what are you doing here? Ms. Fong sounded calm but she looked very cold. This man had the audacity to suggest moving the whole family together after their new house was built. Ms. Fong looked down at him to an extreme degree. Chapter 395. Regretful. Xiao Liulang did not sense her displeasure though. He had always thought highly of himself, and he said with a smile, "Eldest aunt." He asked in a pretentiously casual way. You had guests last night, right? They seem to be young Master Yu's servants, right? Have they left already? Many people had seen Chu Shan coming to the village the day before, and Xiao Liulang saw that too. But he lost interest in the visit, since Chu Shan was here alone. So he did not come to them the day before. But he got quite curious as he came to them in the morning. Unfortunately, the wagon was gone, so was the man. Ms. Fong let out a cry of surprise. Xiao Liulang smiled. I need to talk with my cousin. Ms. Fong stopped him. Your cousin has left with Chu Shan. What? Xiao Liulang's face changed. So Chu Shan was here to take him away as a guest to their place? Ms. Fong looked at him with confusion, wondering what made him so excited at the moment. She nodded. Yeah. Xiao Liulang suddenly felt regretful. But I had a nice chat with young Master Yu last time as well. Why didn't my cousin ask me to join them? He should have come to them the night before and asked about the visit. He had just missed the great opportunity. Ms. Fong was speechless. Young Master Yuezheng and young Master Xie were getting on well with her son, not with Liulang. She said, but Chu Shan didn't say that young Master Yu invited you. Xiao Liulang got stuck with words, and turned pale. But we are cousins and we are together, right? Ms. Fong found it hard to counter him about this, so she let out a small, okay, and said nothing more. Xiao Liulang had no idea what else to say. What could he do since the wagon was long gone? He could try to chase the wagon. But he would not be able to catch up at all. He wanted to lecture eldest aunt, but he did not dare to. Xiao Liulang thought of an idea and said, "Where does young master you live?" Ms. Fong understood clearly what he wanted to do, and replied with a smile. "One have no idea." Xiao Liulang felt that Ms. Fong was lying, but he could not prove that. "You really have no idea?" "No." Xiao Liulang got so annoyed as he said, "Can you swear on that?" Ms. Fong threw a look at him. "What is wrong with you? I would be mental to swear on this. Just leave me alone. Honestly, you can't do any labor work and just read and write. So, you should just stay in the room and read on your own. What will you do if you don't pass any examinations?" That was so heartbreaking for him to hear. Xiao Liulang. He felt even more annoyed. Xiao Liulang felt regretful as he came back home in distress. Ms. Ma asked him about it in concern. Xiao Liulang did not want to mention it, but he could not help and complain to Ms. Ma. Ms. Ma did not feel any sympathy but snapped angrily. "They are just showing off. They have rich friends, but so do you. Just ignore them. If you feel bored, go and visit young Master Xiao again." Xiao Liulang was startled. In fact, he understood clearly that his relationship with Zhao Guanghua was totally different from Xiao Yunduan's relationship with those two young masters. But he did not want to admit that. Chapter 396. Favored by beauty. That was why he tried hard to suck up to the two young masters. He somehow believed that if the two young masters befriended him, he would have a lot of wonderful things coming to him in the future. Zhao Guanghua was different from them. But he could not just say that out loud. His mother would not understand. Bothered and flustered, Xiao Liulang could not stay at home and went to the Zhao family for real. Zhao Guanghua was feeling very bored at home. When he heard that Xiao Liulang had come over, he laughed and ordered him to come in. Now he had someone whom he could tease for fun. However, Xiao Liulang ran into Zhao Ming when he was at Zhao Guanghua's place. Xiao Liulang was shocked by her looks. Zhao Ming saw him as well. She felt flattered to have fascinated a dumb man like him. She smiled at him purposefully and left. Zhao Ming's smile made Xiao Liulang's head buzz. He was totally distracted, and after a few moments, he became really happy. The elder miss of the Zhao family smiled at him. Did she fall for him? That must be it. Xiao Liulang couldn't stand the excitement arising inside his head. He almost burst out in laughter. Since Zhao Guanghua did not witness what happened, he wondered what was wrong with this man. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, as well as their family, arrived in the province before the day turned dark. It was an early winter day, and they eventually managed to go through the gate before it closed. Chu Shan drove them to the hotel where they had lived last time. Yuezheng Shao had already booked the room for them. They thanked Chu Shan and checked in. It was a quiet night. Early the next morning, Yuezheng Shao and Jingrong came to visit them together. They had a chat in a very bustling, lively atmosphere. Yuezheng Shao and Jingrong thanked them for the presents which they brought along. Those included some sun-dried mushrooms and creeping figs. They did not have any bergamots anymore since Yuezheng Shao already took everything away last time he was at their place. All kinds of dried mushrooms were fine, and jelly was still a new product. As expected, Yuezheng Shao liked it very much. Last time when he brought some fresh ones back, Yuezheng Shao specially gave them to his mother and sister-in-law. Jingrong also ordered someone to make jelly, added various chopped nuts or fresh fruits, and a little crushed ice. The ladies in the family loved it, asking him when he would be able to bring some more back. Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had a few with them this time. The gathering took place after 2 days and it would last for 3 days in a row. Jingrong told Xiao Yunduan about some important figures as well as the whole process and the regulations. Yuezheng Shao was not interested in what was happening between scholars, so he started to talk about lipsticks and dessert stores with Qiao Xian instead. They had no flowers for lipsticks right now, so Yuezheng Shao decided to release the lipsticks which they had in stock regularly so they could stretch it out until the new ones arrived. Qiao Xian gave him 500 lip balms to fill the shortage of lipsticks. Yuezheng Xiao planned to customize some crystal, jade, gold, and silver lipstick tubes inlaid with gemstones. Rare things were more expensive, and he would try to sell them at high prices. He wondered if Xiao Xian would agree to that. Xiao Xian was shocked. The Yuezheng family was indeed a wealthy business family with not only a huge background, but also ideas and abilities. Some very wealthy ladies would expect their things to stand out from the ordinary ones. Chapter 397. Limited version. The crystal and jade lipstick tubes would not cost a lot more than the current cost, but the price could definitely increase by more than 100 times. Also, they did not need to have many tubes like this. More than a dozen sets would be enough. That sounds great. In this way we can make more money and satisfy what the noble ladies and madams like. That is like killing two birds with one stone. Xiao Xian nodded in agreement. Yuezheng Xiao struck his thigh and smiled. That is true. Exactly what I think. Xiao Xian thought for a while and said, how about this? Next year there will be a set of 12 beauties limited edition lipsticks. The 12 beauties each correspond to a kind of flower for 12 months. The lipstick tubes will represent spring, summer, autumn and winter, which will be made of emerald, carnelian, gold, and crystal respectively. The tube will be carved with patterns of beauties and flowers, inlaid with various pearls and gemstones. 3 pieces will be released in one season, and the whole set can be collected in 1 year. 3 packs can be sold at one go, and more effort should be made on the packaging. We can draw patterns and ask famous artists to sell them. You must make sure that it is exquisitely made. As for the price, I'm not an expert on it, so it's fine for you to decide. Yuezheng Xiao's eyes sparkled when he heard the idea. He patted the table in delight. That is a great thought. We are definitely going to do this. Let's release a set of 12 beauties, limited edition first, then I'll find someone to figure out a more elaborate idea later. After that we can launch some other series. Think about it slowly. This way we're going to earn a lot of money. At that time, after deducting the cost, we will share the profit equally. Yuezheng Xiao already had an idea about the pricing. He decided to sell the lipsticks with cost included at more than 3,000 liang for one lipstick. Since it was a limited version, he would at most produce 10 sets so they could look rare. He was sure that they would be very well received. They did not need to worry about not being able to sell them. 10 sets for the 12 beauty series with 12 lipsticks for one set would earn them so much. The two money lovers started to discuss the plan in detail. They did not stop until it was time for lunch. Jingrong had already booked the restaurant, and they all headed there. Inside the elegant room, Shao Yunduan was shocked hearing what Yuezheng Xiao said about the limited version of lipsticks. Jingrong spoke highly of the idea when he heard about it. 12 beauties and 12 famous flowers would be drawn by famous artists, and the outer tubes would be made by famous craftsmen. The gold, jade and crystals corresponded to the 4 seasons. They were luxurious and elegant enough, and will work perfectly as limited versions. Rare things were always more expensive, and they would definitely be sold. A few thousand liang was nothing in rich people's eyes. After all, real rich people had so much money to spend that it simply could not finish. Hearing that it was Xiao Xian's idea, Jingrong could not help but look at this girl with admiration. The county magistrate was totally blind to alienate and dislike this daughter of his. If he had treated her well and taken her as an advisor, he would have been promoted and made a fortune, and fame long ago instead of trying to stick up to powerful and rich people in this humiliating way. Shao Yunduan was a learned man, but he just could not believe that someone would spend this much money upon buying one lipstick like that. It sounded ridiculous. But Shao Yunduan could not help but feel emotional when he saw how confident Jingrong and Yuezheng Xiao were when they talked about selling these lipsticks. He simply could not understand what was up with rich people. Chapter 398. Dessert store. Eating mutton in winter was the most warming and nourishing feeling. Today's several big dishes were all mutton, including roasted leg of lamb, braised lamb chops, braised mutton with radish, steamed mutton with powder, and mutton in a dry pot. They were all served straight out of the pot. The chefs at the restaurants were pretty good at cooking. Yuezheng Xiao could not help but talk about the dessert stores during lunchtime. Xiao told him that they already bought the land for opening, and they could plant the creeping figs in spring and harvest them in autumn. There were many creeping figs this year, and the sun-dried ones should weigh over 50 kilograms. But those were not enough to open a dessert store. They needed to have at least 3 or 5 stores in the province so that they could acquire the market as soon as possible and earn money. One store would earn too little profit. They could not just sell jelly and needed to offer something more as well. This ice powder jelly could not be copied by others. Other things such as sugar taro seedlings, mung bean paste, lily lotus seed and almond soup, bean curd and bean brain, were easy to learn as long as others saw them. So, they needed to take over the market right at the beginning, so all the tastes could be showcased well, and could stand firmly and for a long duration. They did not need to open the store as of this moment, but they could start the preparations until all was set and ready to go. Xiao also mentioned raising cows, and she wondered if the cows could be bred because milk could lead to making many other interesting dishes as well. Taking advantage of the trend, she also mentioned sago, cassava, and papaya available in the south. If they could find those, the whole thing would get much better. Yuezheng, Shao and Jingrong were both shocked. This was far more than jelly. They were even thinking about raising cows? What was sago rice? Cassava? They never heard about these things. They had heard of papaya, but never saw it before. Yuezheng Shao gave Xiao an admiring look as he sighed. You have such vast knowledge. Everything sounds so good. Draw me some pictures, so I can try this with my elder brother. As long as we have them on this land, we will definitely find them. His elder brother had befriended many wandering people as a businessman. Although they were not very close friends, they could offer some help to find the stuff they needed. Xiao smiled. Yes, I also read some sayings in a book about foreign countries. The sago and cassava should come from the west, and most of them have to go to the south to find them. Yuezheng Shao nodded. I will speak with my brother. He smiled as he looked at Jingrong. We do have cows. Their family happened to have a small ranch, and they raised some cows there. Xiao and Shao Yunduan turned to Jingrong. Jingrong smiled. My grandfather and grandmother like milk, so the family specially raised a few cows, which were easy to handle. Soon, I will take over this pasture and expand it to raise a few more cows. 20 or 30 should be enough. Xiao didn't know if that was enough, but how many cows could be raised on a ranch needed to be calculated by experience or in a scientific way, not as per their wish. Xiao smiled and nodded. 20 and 30 should be enough. Let's see how the store business goes. Yuezheng Shao smiled happily. The business should be good. They talked for a few minutes before leaving. It was quite late in the day. You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.